Chapter 142. She took out a box from her spatial ring. This box was the same as the one that contained the small pagoda. She recognized it at a glance. When she opened the box, there was only a small piece of metal inside. When she saw the piece of metal, she immediately thought of the small groove at the base of the small tower. She took out the small pagoda, turned it upside down, and placed the metal pieces on top of it to compare. She found that they were the same size and shape. As Sima Yue did not know the function of the metal piece, she did not hastily place the metal piece into the pagoda. Instead, she picked up the pagoda and observed it closely. This is the 7-layer pagoda. Emo Sha's voice sounded, following which his figure slowly came out from the devil's snare bracelet. 7-story pagoda? What is it? Sima Yue asked. The 7-layered pagoda was the weapon of a powerful being in the past. After that powerful being died, his whereabouts were unknown. It was said that the 7-story pagoda had 7 floors, and each floor had a different function. But now, very few people know about this thing, and even fewer people know the use of each floor. Emo Sha glanced at the book collection pavilion and said, I think the first floor should be the storage area. Oh, Sima Yue replied faintly. Looking at Emo Sha, she asked, why didn't you come out that day? Emo Sha knew that she was talking about the day Sima Lai was taken away, and he could also hear that she was blaming him. However, he did not plan to explain himself and only said a few words indifferently. You want people to know that you have connections with the Devil clan? Or is the Sima family related to the demon race? It was just one sentence, but it made Sima Yue swallow all the words she wanted to say. He was right. At that time, if he were to come out, then the Sima family would no longer be able to establish themselves in Dongqin country. I understand. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have blamed you, Sima Yue said. Actually, you also know that just leaving them here isn't the solution. Perhaps because he saw that she was in a bad mood, Emo Sha comforted her. Thinking back to when he had learned how to comfort others, it was already good enough that he didn't kill anyone. It was because of this contract that he always had some inexplicable feelings for her. Sima Yue remained silent. Just like what he had said, she knew that letting them stay was only a temporary solution. Once Sima Lin and the rest returned, they would naturally send more people over. At that time the result would still be the same. Moreover, the fight would implicate innocent people. The best way was to clearly explain what had happened back then. Only then would Sima Lai and the others be able to live openly. Didn't you decide to save them 3 years later? Since it's like this, instead of being sad here, it's better to seize the time to raise your own strength. Emo Sha said. I understand. Sima Yue said. She knew that it was not the time for her to be depressed. She let out a breath and turned her attention back to the small pagoda in front of her. Grandpa said that he doesn't know how to use this tower. Do you know? I know. Before Emo Sha could say anything, Little Spirit's voice sounded first. Sima Yue brought Emo Sha into the Spirit Pearl. Seeing Little Spirit and Ling Long together, she asked, You know how to use it? I've heard of it. Little Spirit said, This pagoda is a spirit weapon from a long time ago. Although it can't be compared to me, its level is not low either. Even if he was talking about others, Little Spirit would not forget to praise himself. Then how do you use this? Sima Yue asked. No matter what method you use, this is useless. Little Spirit said. What? Because its spirit weapon has already died. Little Spirit said, The small pagoda that you saw is now dim and lifeless. This means that the spirit weapon is no longer here. A spirit weapon can die? Sima Yue looked at Little Spirit in shock. Then you've lived for thousands and millions of years. Why haven't you died yet? Usually spirit weapons will not die. However, this 7-layered pagoda spirit weapon is very special. Little Spirit said, In the past, I heard that this 7-story pagoda was personally refined by the owner. When he was refining it, he put his own soul into it. Later on, he died and that part of his soul slowly dissipated after a long time. This 7-layered pagoda is not like me. It can nourish the soul. Then doesn't this mean that it's useless? Sima Yue asked. That's about it. Little Spirit said, Anyway, the storage function of the first floor can still be used. It's just that the upper floors cannot be opened. Is there no other way? Sima Yue was a little disappointed. This was something left behind by an ancient expert. This thing must be very powerful. No. Little Spirit shook his head straightforwardly. You can just use it as a space container. Sima Yue knocked Little Spirit's head and said, With your endless space, why would I need a space container? That's true. Then just throw it away. Little Spirit said. Sima Yue knocked his head again. Even if this thing could not be used, it would be good to use it as a library. Ai, what a pity. Who knows, there might be treasures in the upper floors. Sima Yue said. Actually, it's not that there's no other way. Emo Sha said. You know. Sima Yue's originally dim eyes suddenly lit up. Even the way she looked at Emo Sha was different. I also don't know if it's possible. Emo Sha said, since it's something from the ancient era, I think it should be able to fuse with the spirit pearl. Fuse. Sima Yue and Little Spirit cried out in unison. Emo Sha nodded and said, this 7-layered pagoda spirit has dissipated so it can't be used. If it fuses with the spirit pearl and reinforces the spirit, then it should be able to open the upper floors. But this requires an armament master to refine it, right? Sima Yue said, where can I go to find such an armament master? Furthermore, it's under the condition that the secret is not revealed. That's even more impossible. Have you forgotten who refined this bracelet? Emo Sha said. Sima Yue thought of the bracelet on her wrist and said, you're saying that you're an armament master? I know how to refine armaments. Emo Sha said. What's your grade? It has nothing to do with that. Anyway, it should be able to fuse the 7-layered pagoda with the spirit pearl. Emo Sha said. Again. Sima Yue glanced at him. Previously, when she asked him about his alchemy level, he was also like this. Would he die if he didn't act pretentiously? Then how do you do it? Sima Yue asked. Even if I told you, you wouldn't understand. Sima Yue stared at Emo Sha speechlessly. Was there anyone who looked down on her like this? This guy, he knew how to tame beasts, he knew how to refine pills, and now he was even a high-grade armament master. Everyone else thought that she was a pervert, but why did she think that this guy was the real pervert? Alright, if you don't want to say, then forget it. Sima Yue said, then looked at Emo Sha seriously and asked, if the 7-layered pagoda and the spirit pearl are fused, will Little Spirit disappear? What if he disappears? If he does, then I'd rather give up. Little Spirit, who was at the side, heard Sima Yue's words and his body shook. Chapter 143. Little Spirit and Emo Sha both knew that Sima Yue loved treasures and also felt her interest towards the 7-story pagoda. However, they never thought that she would actually choose to give it up in order to protect Little Spirit. Why? Emo Sha looked at her, somewhat unable to understand. Even if Little Spirit disappears, a new artifact spirit will be formed. It won't affect the spirit pearl's current functions. That's different. Sima Yue hugged Little Spirit and said, Little Spirit and I have already lived together for such a long time. I have already treated him as a part of my life. Even if there is another Little Spirit after the fusion, it will not be the current him. But fusing with it might increase the spirit pearl's abilities. Emo Sha said, furthermore, you can obtain the treasures in the 7-layer pagoda. Aren't you curious about the upper floors? Yes, I am very curious, but I care more about the people around me. Sima Yue said, even if I don't want those things, I want Little Spirit to be well. No regrets? Emo Sha asked. No, I don't. Little Spirit is already very heaven-defying now, it doesn't matter if he can't improve. Sima Yue kissed Little Spirit's cheek before looking at Emo Sha and saying, similarly, if I had to use you to exchange for something, I wouldn't be willing either. It's not because you're powerful or knowledgeable. It's because you're you. You're someone by my side. After Sima Yue kissed Little Spirit's face for the first time, he did not reach out to wipe the saliva off his face. He buried his face in Sima Yue's embrace and felt warmth in his heart. Although his previous masters liked him very much, no one cared about him so much. They only treated him as an artifact spirit, not a living person. No wonder Ling Long had chosen her. It wasn't because of her future achievements, but because she was a considerate person. Emo Sha lowered his eyelids slightly, hiding the emotions in his eyes. Had anyone ever cared about him this much before? No. Those people either relied on him, worshipped him, or hated him. No one had ever told him that he was him, someone by her side, and that was why she cared. Sima Yue let go of Little Spirit and picked up the small pagoda to take a look. She said with some pity, since it can't be opened, then it's better to leave it here as a library. Sure. Emo Sha suddenly said. Yeah, that's the only way. Sima Yue followed Emo Sha's words. What I'm saying is that you can fuse without changing the weapon spirit. Emo Sha said. I know you said it's possible. You said it's possible to merge. Sima Yue finally reacted. She turned to look at Emo Sha, her eyes shining. Emo Sha nodded his head and said, yes, it's just that it'll take longer. Really? Haha, it doesn't matter if it takes a long time. Sima Yue laughed out loud, as long as it doesn't hurt little spirit, it doesn't matter how long it takes. Seeing the smile on her face, Mo Sha felt that he wasn't the same as before. Not long ago he still cared about someone's thoughts and whether or not they would be happy if he did it. Sima Yue went forward to pat him, but her hand went right through his body. Cough cough, I forgot that you don't have a body. Sima Yue retracted her hand and said, since it's possible, what do I need to prepare? What do you need me to do? You're useless, what do I need you to do? Mo Sha said, I'll arrange it. You can't use the spirit pearl during this period of time. Sima Yue's earlier excitement couldn't stop her hatred towards Mo Sha. Did he have to despise her so thoroughly? Then I'll go out and keep all the books outside. Then I'll pass them to you. Sima Yue said as she went out and kept all the books into her spatial ring. Then she picked up the 2 boxes and went out of the library. When she walked out of the door, she realized that it was already dark outside. She turned her head to look at the library and said goodbye. Then she put the 2 boxes into her soul pearl. She didn't know what Mo Sha did, but the library suddenly moved. Then it slowly faded and finally disappeared. Sima Yu was shocked by the movement. It was a good thing that it was nighttime. If it was broad daylight and people saw a house disappear into thin air, she was afraid that there would be a storm. If it disappeared tomorrow, it could be said that it was cleaned up tonight. When she returned to the house, Sima Yu called out Little Roar, Mo Sha, Yaguang and Ling Long. After that, she took out a few necessary things such as many medicinal ingredients, pills that she had refined in the past and so on. After that, she took out the spirit pearl that was as ugly as a scale and handed it over to Mo Sha. You must not hurt little spirit. Sima Yue instructed again. Mo Sha didn't say anything. He glanced at Sima Yue and took the spirit pearl. Then he took the small pagoda and returned to the devil's snare bracelet. Sima Yue waited until he went in before she remembered that she had forgotten to ask him how much time he needed. If he couldn't merge successfully in 10 years, then wouldn't she be unable to use the things in the spirit pearl for 10 years? However, she thought that even if she asked, Mo Sha might not tell her. He would either ignore her or look down on her. So she thought about it and decided to forget about it. Okay, Yaguang and Little Roar, you guys can only stay in the contract space for the rest of the time? Sima Yue said. Yes, master. Yaguang replied straightforwardly. Little Roar came in front of Sima Yue and said, Yu, why don't I just stay outside? The contract space is too boring. There's no point in staying inside. No. Sima Yue first kept Little Roar back into the contract space. Then Yaguang obediently went in by himself. Ling Long, you can stay in the space ring for a while. Sima Yue said as she kept Ling Long into the space ring. Looking at Little Rock's round eyes, Sima Yue said helplessly, You don't have the contract space, so you can only stay outside. But don't reveal your strength in front of others, understand? Little Rock nodded and flew to the roof. After settling these matters, the housekeeper hurriedly ran over and found her, saying, Young master, something happened. What happened? Sima Yue hurriedly opened the door and asked when she heard that something had happened. Young master, the library suddenly disappeared. The housekeeper said anxiously. When Sima Yue heard that, she relaxed and said, That's nothing, I did it. The housekeeper was stunned. That was a spirit tool that grandfather left behind. I just kept it. Sima Yue said, Get someone to build another library when they're building the house. Although the housekeeper did not understand, since she said that it was nothing, he stuffed his heart back into his stomach. After the housekeeper left, Sima Yue closed the door. Thinking that she had not read the book that Sima Lai had placed together with the sound stone, she gave up on cultivating and took out the book. Raging Inferno / What book is this? Sima Yue looked at the name on the book and did not know why Sima Lai had placed this book together with the sound stone. Suddenly she thought of the flaming broadsword that was formed when Sima Lai and Sima Kai fought. Could it be that this book was for learning that technique? Chapter 144. Sima Yue flipped open the Raging Inferno / and saw that the title page stated that it was a profound level high-rank spiritual skill. It also stated that one could not cultivate it unless they were at the Spirit King level. It's actually a high-grade profound rank spiritual skill. Sima Yue said in surprise, but you can only practice it when you're a spiritual king, so all I can do now is watch. I didn't expect Grandpa to have a high-grade profound level spiritual skill. No wonder it was so powerful. In the beginning, spirit masters could only rely on absorbing and condensing spirit energy to compete. Now they could only condense small fireballs or drizzle. If they wanted more power, they would have to use spirit techniques. Previously, when Feng Zhixing was teaching them, he said that spiritual techniques were divided into 4 levels: heaven, earth, black, and yellow. Each level was further divided into low level, mid-level, and high level. The power of each level of spiritual technique was as different as heaven and earth. Once a spirit master became a great spirit master, they would be able to cultivate spirit skills. The higher the level of the spirit skill, the harder it would be to cultivate it. Currently, most of the spirit skills on the continent were yellow level. High yellow level spirit skills were very rare. Of course, Feng Zhixing was only talking about the Dongchen country. To other places, the yellow rank was nothing. Generally, great spirit masters are able to cultivate spirit skills. I didn't think that this would require spirit kings to learn. It seems that cultivating this requires a lot of spirit energy, so its power should be stronger than others of the same level. When I become a spirit king, I can give it a try. Sima Yue put away the fire slash and began to cultivate. Too many things had happened recently. Although Little Spirit had taken the initiative to help her cultivate so that her progress would not fall behind, there was not much progress. If she wanted to save Sima Lai and the others, she needed to have sufficient strength and a thorough plan. That Sima Lin isn't even a spirit paragon yet, but he's already so powerful. The Sima family definitely has someone even more powerful, who might even be a spirit paragon. If I want to save Grandpa and the others, I have to improve myself as soon as possible. She was currently only a level 6 spiritual master and could faintly touch the barrier of a level 7 spiritual master. However, there were still great spiritual master, spiritual king, spiritual grandmaster, and then spiritual emperor. Some people spent their entire lives to become spirit grandmasters, but she spent less than a year to become a level 6 spiritual master. She still had 3 years left. She wondered how far she would go. Time passed in the blink of an eye. She had been cultivating for 2 days. Because the big plan had been settled, no one came to disturb her these 2 days. 2 days later, the general's mansion sent out an announcement to recruit a group of people. The benefits were that if they joined, they would receive a spiritual beast personally trained by Sima Yue, as well as a number of pills for cultivation. In the future, they would receive the same treatment as the imperial bodyguards. The conditions were that they had to be at least a great spirit master and work for the Sima family for 10 years. For 10 years they would only accept or leave. The news of Sima Yue taming the spirit beasts in front of everyone had long since spread throughout the imperial capital and the surrounding cities. Even some of the more remote places knew about this. While everyone was sighing at her abnormal talent, they were even more interested in the spirit beasts that she had tamed, thinking that it would be great if they could get their hands on one. Now that the Sima family's announcement was out, there was an endless stream of people coming to sign up. The housekeeper, who originally thought that not many people would respond, immediately became busy. On the first day they did not reject anyone who was at least a great spirit master. On the second day they began to filter people. Those who were too weak or had bad character were directly eliminated. Very quickly the number of people in the Sima family doubled. The housekeeper left a portion of people to protect the Sima family, and the rest were sent to catch spiritual beasts. Very quickly the Chu family's goods arrived. The spiritual beasts from the Beast Tamers Guild were also sent over. Coupled with Sima Yue's reputation, the Sima family's shop changed from its previous sluggish state. There was an endless stream of customers. Those who had designs on the Sima family all suppressed their thoughts. Whoever dared to touch the Sima family now would have to first consider whether they were able to go against the Capital Institute and the Beast Tamers Guild. Many insiders sighed. They had never seen a power develop so quickly. It had developed in just 1 or 2 months. However, thinking of Sima Yue's abnormal talent in refining elixirs and taming spiritual beasts, such a situation was within reason. Moreover, the Sima family had previously been unable to do certain things because of Sima Lai's status as general. Now that there were no such restrictions, they could do more. The housekeeper had originally wanted to let the people who had just entered meet Sima Yue, but seeing that she was in closed-door cultivation, he gave up on that idea. After a few days, Sima Yue felt that she was about to advance in level while cultivating. She had originally wanted to continue cultivating after coming out of closed-door cultivation. After a day, she successfully broke through to become a level 7 spiritual master. After successfully advancing in level, Sima Yue opened her eyes. Seeing the stars that represented her strength slowly dissipate, she sighed and said, "The speed of advancement is a little slow. But at this rate, how can I save grandfather and the rest? Looks like I have to think of another way to increase my strength." Because she had been in a cultivating position for a few days, her body was a little stiff. She got off the bed and moved around a little. When she opened the door, she was stunned. Before she went into closed-door cultivation, it was still a piece of flat land. How did it suddenly become a mansion? Young master, you're out of closed-door cultivation. Chun Jian and Yun Yu were outside. When they heard the sound of Sima Yue opening the door, they smiled and welcomed her. Chun Jian, how long have I been in closed-door cultivation? Sima Yue couldn't believe her eyes. Could it be that she had been in closed-door cultivation for a long time? Young master, you've been in closed-door cultivation for 10 days. Chun Jian replied. It's only been 10 days. How is the house already finished? Sima Yue asked. Yun Yu smiled and said, Young master, ever since you publicly tamed a beast and became a beast tamer, many people came to help build the Sima residence. That's why the speed has increased by a lot. Even if that was the case, wasn't it a little too fast? Young master, your courtyard has already been tidied up. Do you want to take a look? Chun Jian asked. Okay. Sima Yue nodded. This temporary house hadn't been torn down yet because Sima Yue was in closed-door cultivation. However, the courtyard in front had already been tidied up. Sima Yue followed Chun Jian and Yun Yu to her courtyard. Because she was the only owner now, her courtyard was the main courtyard. The house was being built very quickly. However, the construction wasn't sloppy. Sima Yue looked around and saw that the construction of the house was not bad. The remaining decorations and gardens were still being built slowly. Sima Yue looked around and nodded in satisfaction. Only with a house would it feel like a home. When the housekeeper heard that Sima Yue had come out of closed-door cultivation, he reported to her about the past few days. He heard that the number of people in the Sima family had suddenly increased by a lot. Moreover, there were many spirit kings and spirit overlords who came. Even she was surprised by this lineup. Right now, she could only imagine how many spirit beasts she would have to tame in order to meet the requirements. However, the good thing was that taming spirit beasts was like cultivating to her. It wouldn't be too tiring and could even increase her spirit energy. Therefore, after thinking about it, she didn't think much of it. Instead, she was secretly looking forward to it. Chapter 145. After settling the family matters, Sima Yue went to school. She had not graduated yet, and the principal knew that he had given her some time off. Seeing that the Sima family was on the right track, she went back to continue her studies. In fact, for the current her, there wasn't much she could learn here, but she didn't want to give up halfway. The Sima family also needed her attention, so she didn't plan to leave for the time being. When he returned to the dormitory, Wei Ziqi and the others had already gone to class. There was not a single person in the dormitory. Thinking back to the last time he was here, he was still a young master who did not need to consider anything. The next time he was here, he had already become the head of the family. I'm sure no one has ever seen the head of the household come to school. After tidying up the house, it was already noon. Remembering that she hadn't eaten for a long time, she also wanted to thank everyone for their concern and help during this period of time, so she went to the kitchen to cook a few dishes. I knew it. Just by smelling this fragrance, I knew that Yue had returned. Fatty Chu's voice could be heard even before he arrived. His nose had always been very sensitive when it came to food. The four of them went to the kitchen and saw Sima Yue sitting at the table waiting for them. They walked over and sat down to eat. Have you settled the matter? Wei Ziqi asked. Everything is almost on track. The rest will need to be done slowly. Sima Yue said that the most important thing now was to tame the hundreds of spirit beasts. However, the spirit beasts had not arrived yet, so she did not have to rush. The speed at which your house was being built really blinded our eyes. We haven't gone out for a few days, and when we went out yesterday, we discovered that your house had already been built. Fatty Chu picked up a piece of meat and placed it in his mouth as he spoke. Let's not talk about you guys. Even I was shocked. Sima Yue said, I went into seclusion for a few days. When I came out, I saw that the flat ground had turned into a courtyard. It was horrifying. I didn't know that houses could be repaired so quickly. I heard that it was because there were many people working together, that's why it was so fast. Wei Ziqi said, this is also good. You've recruited so many new people, so you need a place to make arrangements. Yes. Sima Yue nodded and asked, how have you been? The academy is pretty much the same as before, but now when we walk in the academy, we often meet some girls who come looking for us. Extremely annoying. Wei Ziqi said. What? Sima Yue blinked. Could it be that both of you are in love? Did someone confess to you? It's not that our peach blossoms have blossomed, it's your peach blossoms that have blossomed. Fatty Chu said, those people didn't come to find us, they came to find you. Every time you look for us, It's to ask when you're coming to the academy what you like and what kind of girls you like. Seriously, you're obviously a girl, why are you so popular with women? Sima Yue was speechless as she watched Fatty Chu grumble. She never thought that she would become a celebrity in the academy. Yes, he was also famous in the past. However, he was famous for being trash in the past. Now he was famous for being a genius. You don't know how ferocious those girls are. In order to get news about you, they really do whatever it takes. Wei Ziqi was a little scared as he spoke. Ouyang and Bei Gong are still alright. One is an ice mountain while the other is a girl. Others don't dare to get close to them, but Fatty Chu and I are miserable. We've helped you collect a bunch of love letters, do you want to read them? No. Sima Yue quickly shook her head. She didn't want to read those boring things. You don't have to care about those people. Bei Gong Tang said, as long as you don't care, they won't bother you. I know. Sima Yue said. Alright, Yue, do you plan to continue studying in the academy? How are you going to manage your family's matters? Fatty Chu asked. I've already handed the matters over to Uncle Fu and the others to handle. I just have to go home once every few days. If anything happens at home, I'll take leave from the academy. Anyway, this semester isn't long. When this semester ends, I'll apply to graduate. You're graduating? Sima Yue replied. In these 3 years, I have to go somewhere else to raise my strength. Here in the academy, it's too slow to raise my strength. Wei Ziqi and the others all knew about her 3-year promise, so they knew the pressure she was currently shouldering. Then what about the Sima family's matters? Wei Ziqi asked. A few months' time is enough for us to consolidate our power. When the time comes, we'll hand the matters over to Uncle Fu and the others to handle. I'll get people to send the things we need over regularly. Sima Yue said. Where do you plan to go? Bei Gong Tang asked. Sima Yue was silent for a while before saying, I'll go to Sophia Mountain Range. I'll go there to gain experience and then directly leave from there. Didn't you say that there's a barrier? How are you going to leave? Fatty Chu asked. Little Roar said that those arrays and whatnot are useless. Sima Yue said, when the time comes, I'll get him to open the barrier. Ouyang Fei furrowed his eyebrows and said, the spirit beasts in Sophia Mountain Range are much stronger than Pu Luo Mountain Range. If you go there, won't it be too dangerous? Danger makes people grow faster. Sima Yue said, I believe that danger can develop a person's potential and raise their strength. Alright, if you stay in the academy, your strength will indeed increase a little slower. It's better to go outside. Bei Gong Tang said. That's right. Sima Yue gave a thought and took out 4 jade bottles, handing them over to the 4 of them, saying, these are the things that I promised you. Everyone received the jade bottles and opened them. Seeing that there were 2 pills inside, they asked, what pill is this? 100 Revolutions pill. Sima Yue said. When Bei Gong Tang heard the name of the 100 Revolutions pill, her eyes lit up, asking, is this really the 100 Revolutions pill? Yes. Sima Yue said, I originally wanted to refine other pills, but the person who refined the pill for me said that the 100 Revolutions pill was a little better, so I refined this. But I already took a golden snake fruit. This doesn't belong to me. Bei Gong Tang said. Don't be so calculative. That golden snake fruit was for Meng Ji, and this 100 Revolutions pill is for you. I think that Ziqi and the others won't have any objections. Furthermore, you also need this. Sima Yue said. Bei Gong Tang looked at Sima Yue and the corner of her mouth lifted slightly, saying, thank you, Yue. It was rare for Wei Ziqi and the others to see Bei Gong Tang so interested in a pill, so they were also curious about the 100 Revolutions pill. Yue, what kind of pill is this 100 Revolutions pill? Fatty Chu took the pill and wanted to stuff it into his mouth, but was pulled back by Sima Yue saying, you don't even know what it is. Aren't you afraid that it's poison? Haha, didn't you say that it's a pill that increases my strength? Fatty Chu said. Sima Yue glared at Fatty Chu. This guy was just focused on eating and didn't even listen to what she said. Chapter 146. Fatty Chu saw that everyone was looking at him with disdain and coughed twice before saying, didn't you say that you were going to refine pills for us to raise our cultivation? Why, this isn't it. Sima Yue smacked Fatty Chu's head, not wanting to talk to him anymore. Bei Gong, you know about the 100 Revolutions pill? Ouyang Fei asked. Yeah. Bei Gong Tang said, I've heard people talk about it before, but I've never seen it before. What kind of pill is this? Wei Ziqi asked. The 100 Revolutions pill. It's also known as the tendon and marrow cleansing pill. You'll know what it does when you hear its name. Bei Gong Tang said. Tendon and marrow cleansing pill. Ouyang Fei and the other two cried out at the same time. They didn't know what the 100 Revolutions pill was, but they knew what the tendon and marrow cleansing pill was. Yes, the effect of this pill is to cleanse your muscles and marrow, changing your physique and increasing the speed of your cultivation. Sima Yue said. Oh my god, Yu, where did you get this pill from? Fatty Chu patted his chest, obviously scared out of his wits. Coincidentally, that person knew this pill formula and coincidentally used the golden snake fruit. He thought that this pill would be better in the long run, so he refined this. Sima Yue explained, but I've never tried it before, so you can give it to me. Actually, this can also increase your strength. Bei Gong Tang said. This can increase one's strength? He didn't tell me. Sima Yue was surprised. Maybe in that person's eyes, this increase in strength is nothing compared to long-term cultivation. Bei Gong Tang said, when the waste in the body is expelled, one's strength will increase. I've seen someone take it once, so I know that. But at that time she only ate one. Bei Gong Tang's expression wasn't too good when she said this. It seemed like the person who took the pill didn't have a good relationship with her. That person said that each person can only take 2 of these pills at most. More than that won't have any effect, so I prepared 2 pills for each of you. Sima Yue said, you can take them when you have the time. Yue, don't you have one? Wei Ziqi asked. This pill is useless to me. Sima Yue said, due to some fortuitous encounters, my body has already been forged. Even if I eat this, it's useless. Why don't you all take it together? I can also protect you. Then let's do it tonight. Ouyang Fei said. He really wanted to know what they would be like after their meridians and marrow cleansing. Bei Gong Tang and the others nodded, agreeing to Ouyang Fei's suggestion. They were also curious about the 100 Revolutions pill. The process is a little painful, but you definitely can't faint. Otherwise it will affect the effects of the pill. Bei Gong Tang reminded. She remembered that when those people gave the 100 Revolutions pill to that woman, she couldn't take it and fainted. Later on, she heard from her family that the effects weren't very good. Yes, we will. Fatty Chu nodded. Thus, in the afternoon, Wei Ziqi and the others cultivated in their own houses, allowing their mental states to reach their peak. When it was late at night, they all opened their eyes at the same time. The 4 of them opened the door and confirmed that they were ready. They greeted Sima Yue in the courtyard and went back to their own houses. Tonight they only needed to eat 100 Revolutions pill. However, it was said that different people with different innate talents would have different effects. The amount of time needed would also be different. Sima Yue waited in the courtyard. She heard painful groans from the house and didn't know what they were going through. After a while, Fatty Chu was the first to run out of the house. He dashed towards the toilet. Next, Wei Ziqi ran out, followed by Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong Tang. Sima Yue watched as the 4 of them ran to the toilet, then ran back to the house. After a while they ran to the toilet again, then back to the house and ran to the toilet again. Each of them went 7 or 8 times. Mo Sha didn't add croton to the pills. Why are they all having diarrhea? Sima Yue sat in the courtyard and watched them run around. She was happy. However, towards the end she couldn't be happy anymore. This was because every person who passed by her had a disgusting smell. She would smell it every time they passed by. I can't take it anymore. Little Peng on her shoulder wailed. He flapped his wings and flew to the roof. Sima Yue also moved the stool further away. The smell was really too disgusting. Towards the end, the interval between their runs to the toilet became longer. The 4 of them ran back and forth until the middle of the night. After that, the light of their advancement lit up their houses. 3 times, 3 times, 2 times, 3 times. The others all advanced 3 levels. Only Fatty has advanced 2 levels. However, it's still not bad. Sima Yue counted the number of times they advanced. She realized that they were all very talented and had advanced quite a bit. When the sky started to brighten, Fatty Chu came out of the house first. Yue, haha, I advanced 2 levels. Did you see that? Seeing Sima Yue, Fatty Chu ran over excitedly. He reached out to hug her, but she blocked him with a kick. Sima Yue pinched her nose and said, I saw that you advanced 2 levels. Don't be too excited. Go and clean yourself up first. Fatty Chu looked down and realized that his body was covered in filth. It was black and covered his entire body. It even emitted a disgusting smell. Only then did he regain his senses from the excitement of advancing. He hurriedly ran to take a bath. Soon after, Wei Ziqi also came out. However, he didn't run over. Instead, he went to take a bath. Ouyang Fei was next. He also went to take a bath. There was only 1 bath in the dormitory. Because Fatty Chu and the others had snatched it first, Bei Gong Tang couldn't take a bath when she came out. Bei Gong, I've prepared some water for you. You can go to the toilet and take a bath first. If it's not enough, I'll add more water for you. Sima Yue called out to Bei Gong Tang. Sima Yue saw the 2 wooden buckets behind Sima Yue. She didn't even have time to thank her before she filled the buckets and went to the toilet. She couldn't stand the smell on her body any longer. Sima Yue didn't think that Bei Gong Tang would use 6 whole buckets of water. She didn't know how much filth they had excreted. Thinking about how the few of them who loved to be clean were covered in filth, she couldn't help but shudder. When everyone had finished cleaning up, the sky was already bright. Everyone was still sniffing their bodies to see if there was any stench left. They didn't know if it was a psychological effect, but everyone still felt that there was a smell on their bodies. Yue, can you smell if there's any smell on our bodies? Fatty Chu came over and said. Sima Yue kicked him away and said, my nose has already been affected by your smell last night. Don't come near me today. Do you have to be so disgusted? Fatty Chu stood a meter away from her with a face full of grievance. Chapter 147. So what if I despise you? Sima Yue looked at his little wife's aggrieved expression and wanted to tease him. What else can I do? I can't beat you in a fight, I can't scold you, I can't bite you, right? Fatty Chu said. Sima Yue looked at him and smiled happily. I didn't think that the 100 revolutions pill would be so effective. I feel that my body is much more relaxed now. It's not as heavy as before. Wei Ziqi said. Of course you excreted so much filth last night and even pooped so much. It would be weird if it wasn't light. Fatty Chu said, oh right, how many levels did you guys go up? 3rd level. 3rd level. 3rd level. The 3 of them replied at the same time. What, you all went up by 3 levels? Fatty Chu cried out in surprise. Why am I the only one who went up by 2 levels? Sob, I originally thought that it was already pretty good that I went up by 2 levels. Turns out I'm still the one who dropped the tail. Ouyang Fei came over and patted his shoulder, sincerely saying, my condolences. Then he walked past him and left. Sima Yue and Wei Ziqi burst out laughing. They never knew that Ouyang Fei had this side to him. Fatty, I think it's because you usually eat too much and there's too much waste in your body. That's why it's stopping you from advancing. Sima Yue said seriously, look, you went to the toilet the most last night. Your body stinks the most. That's why you have to avoid certain foods and eat less, understand? After she finished speaking, she turned and left. I think that Yue is right. Wei Ziqi patted Fatty Chu's shoulder and walked past him. Bei Gong Tang walked over with a smile in her eyes and said faintly, eat less. Then she also walked away. You guys can't bully people like that. Fatty Chu was teased by everyone and chased after them with a stifled heart. On the way to the classroom, those people saw Sima Yue appear and ran over to take a look. But because they saw her cold expression, they all stopped and no one went up to hit on her. When they were about to reach the classroom, a girl finally gathered the courage to confess to her. Yue, this is a little gift I prepared for you. Please accept it. Sima Yue took the box and said calmly, thank you. When the girl saw that Sima Yue did not reject her gift, she was extremely excited and said, Yue, I like you. Can I be your girlfriend? Girlfriend? Sima Yue did not think that this girl would be so open-minded. She pulled Bei Gong Tang over and kissed her on the cheek, saying, but I already have a girlfriend. If you want to climb up, you have to defeat her first. That girl glanced at Bei Gong Tang and saw that she was glaring at her unkindly. She felt her hair stand on end. Who in the academy didn't know that Bei Gong Tang was a battle maniac? She was strong and liked to fight. Many people went to challenge her and were beaten to the ground by her. She was a weak girl and also a love rival. She was afraid that she would be beaten to a pulp by her. Ahem, since you have a girlfriend, then I won't disturb you. The girl turned around and ran away. Sima Yue looked at the people around her and hugged Bei Gong Tang's shoulder as they went to the classroom. When they returned to the classroom, the students looked at Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang in a different light. It was no wonder that Bei Gong Tang had a cold expression towards everyone except for Sima Yue. It turned out that they were already a couple. Sitting in her seat, Bei Gong Tang slapped Sima Yue's hand away and said, next time, you have to pay me for my help. Why do you have to pay me? Why don't you just follow me and be my girlfriend? Sima Yue said with a smile. Bei Gong Tang glared at Sima Yue. Could it be that this girl's heart was a little perverted from pretending to be a man? Thus, everyone knew that Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang were a couple. Whoever wanted to be her girlfriend would have to fight with Bei Gong Tang first. Although it broke the hearts of many girls, at least no one came to disturb her and Wei Ziqi. At night, Sima Yue protected them again as the four of them ate the second 100 revolutions pill. Because they had already removed most of the impurities in their bodies yesterday, they did not run to the toilet as often as last night. Of course there was one exception. Sima Yue sat in the courtyard and saw Fatty Chu come out to have diarrhea again. She laughed and teased, "Fatty, I already said that you usually eat too much. Look, you're the only one who keeps running to the toilet. This shows that there's still a lot of impurities in your body." Fatty Chu stared speechlessly at Sima Yue and quickly ran to the toilet. However, Fatty Chu's diarrhea had its benefits. Tonight, no one else advanced in rank, but he alone advanced by a level. On the second day when he said that he had advanced in rank, he was extremely happy. Although he was late by a night, at least his talent was about the same as theirs. After eating the 100 revolutions pill, the impurities in their bodies were removed. Their meridians were much smoother than before and they were much wider. Their cultivation speed was much faster than before. Seeing their changes, she thought of the 100 revolutions pill that she had prepared for Sima Yue and the others. Her eyes were slightly downcast. The days that followed slowly went on the right track. When she was in the sect, she mainly studied and cultivated. She would go back to the clan when she had something to do. The spirit beasts that she had promised to those people were also in place. She studied in the sect during the day and went home at night to tame the beasts, cultivate and settle the clan's affairs. After 2 months passed like this, Sima Yue finished her studies and applied to graduate from the sect. When she received her graduation certificate, she thought of Sima Lai's original intention of sending her to the sect. He did not want her to achieve any results in the sect. He just felt that she had to experience what others experienced. When she packed her things and left the dormitory, Fatty Chu and the others came to send her off. Thinking that she would not be in the dormitory in the future, everyone's eyes were filled with reluctance. When she returned to the Sima family, Sima Yue arranged everything properly. She refined pills for a few days consecutively. She refined everything that she needed for a period of time and tamed the spirit beasts. She also got the steward to prepare to recruit alchemists and beast tamers. If she was not around, the supply would not be cut off. The steward knew that once Sima Yue left, he did not know when she would return. He took note of everything that she said. A few days later, she handed an interspatial ring to the steward. After that, she packed her things and walked towards Sophia Mountain. Because the imperial capital did not have a teleportation array directly to Sophia Mountain, she could only sit on Yaguang to go to a nearby city. Just as she stepped out of the city gates, she was stunned. Under a big tree outside the city, Fatty Chu was sitting under the tree. Wei Ziqi was leaning against the tree trunk. Bei Gongtang was standing in front and Ouyang Fei was hugging his sword and sitting on a branch above. "What are you guys doing here?" Sima Yue looked at the four of them in shock. Chapter 148. How is it? I told you that she would walk here. Fatty Chu said proudly. Sima Yue walked over and said, "Aren't you supposed to be on a mission? Why are you here?" Ouyang Fei jumped down from the tree and said, "We just applied for graduation. We are no longer students." "You guys have graduated?" "We felt that we wouldn't be able to learn anything more in the academy, so we applied to graduate," Bei Gongtang said. "As for me, I've already discussed it with my clan. I want to go with you and try it out." Fatty Chu said, "So, I'll be following you from now on. You have to bring me along." "Follow me?" "Right, I'll follow you," Fatty Chu said. "You should know that I don't plan to come back from Sophia Mountain Range this time. I will train in the mountains for 2 years before going outside. If I don't do well, I might die outside." Sima Yue shook her head, not wanting Fatty Chu to follow her. "Anyway, I've already told my family. They also know that I might not be coming back. But it's better to go out than to stay in this small place of exile. I also want to see the outside world," Fatty Chu said. Sima Yue was speechless and turned her gaze towards Wei Ziqi. Wei Ziqi shrugged his shoulders. "I have also returned home. Originally, my parents did not allow me to leave, but my uncle said that going outside is better than staying here. Furthermore, following you, I will definitely be able to go further. Even if I have to give up my life for this, it would be worth it." She didn't expect him to have the same intention. Sima Yue looked at Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei. The former said, "Anyway, I won't be staying here forever. I still have my revenge. Since I have to leave sooner or later, I might as well go with you guys. Anyway, you guys were the ones who taught me teamwork." There was no need to mention Ouyang Fei. He used to be a citizen of the South Yu Kingdom. No one knew what he had experienced before, but he had escaped here. But one day he would have to return. "Have you really thought it through?" Sima Yue looked at them. especially Zichi and Fatty. Once we leave, it will be very difficult for us to return. I've thought it through. Let's go. Fatty Chu dragged his round body and climbed onto Ye Guang's back. Sima Yue grabbed him by the collar and threw him down. Go sit on your own spirit beast, don't press down on Ye Guang. Fatty Chu knew that Sima Yue's words meant that she had agreed, so he called out his spirit beast and sat on it. Wei Ziqi and the others also called out their own spirit beasts, and the 5 of them rode their contracted beasts towards the city in front of them, taking the teleportation array there to the Sophia mountain range. 2 days later, they arrived at the foot of the Sophia mountain range. Looking at the towering mountain, they all had a feeling of looking up. Ouyang, are you sure the environment here is the best? Fatty Chu looked at the many steep cliffs and looked suspiciously at Ouyang Fei. Because the 5 of them were strong, they decided to find a place with a better environment where the spirit beasts were weaker and gradually improve their strength. Because Ouyang Fei had stayed in the Sophia mountain range for a period of time before going to the imperial capital, Ouyang Fei led them into the mountain. Ouyang Fei glanced at Fatty Chu and said indifferently, "Why don't you do it?" Fatty Chu quickly waved his hands. What a joke, he had never been to this place before, how could he lead the way for everyone? "Ouyang, is this the place you came from?" Sima Yue asked. "Yes, the 4 great empires are on the other side of the mountain range. However, this mountain range is over 1,000 li wide. The closer to the center, the higher the level of the spirit beasts. There are many spirit beasts here." Ouyang Fei said. "It's so dangerous. Ouyang, how did you come in?" Fatty Chu looked at Ouyang Fei with admiration. "In order to protect me, many people died." Ouyang Fei was unwilling to say more and changed the topic. "Let's rest at the foot of the mountain tonight and check if we have everything. We will enter the mountain tomorrow." "Alright, let's set up camp at the foot of the mountain," Sima Yue said. The few of them found an empty space and took out their tents, starting to set them up. "There are traces of people staying here," Fatty Chu shouted when he saw the nail marks on the tents. "There are definitely more treasures in this mountain than in Puluo mountain range. There are definitely many people who want to enter the mountain to hunt for treasures. It's just that their strength is not high enough, so there are few people who enter the mountain. However, it's not like there aren't any." Wei Ziqi said, "If our strength was high enough, we would also choose to enter here instead of Puluo mountain range." Fatty Chu thought that it was true. There were many people who went to Puluo mountain range, so there were relatively few precious things. They might as well try their luck here. Furthermore, those who are strong are more willing to come here to gain experience. Sima Yue added. "Fatty Chu, when we go outside we will see many things that we haven't seen before. If you make a fuss about everything, we won't recognize you when we go out." "How embarrassing," Bei Gong Tang said with a smile. "Bei Gong, you're still cuter than the ice beauty from before." Fatty Chu grumbled when he heard the ridicule in Bei Gong Tang's words. After setting up the tents, Sima Yue made dinner for everyone. Because the spirit pearl could not be used yet, she prepared some vegetables and placed them in her interspatial ring. Furthermore, they were all vegetables and did not have any meat. After eating dinner, everyone returned to their own tents to cultivate. They realized that the spirit chi here was denser than other places. If they cultivated here, their strength would increase even faster. Sima Yue sat on the bed and looked at the devil's snare bracelet. Ever since Mo Sha took the spirit pearl and the 7-layered pagoda and entered 3 months ago, there had been no news of him. There was not even the slightest bit of movement. She did not know how they were doing inside, did not know how the spirit pearl and the 7-layered pagoda were fusing together, and how Mo Sha was doing now. However, every night, she would still take out the golden snake fruit tree and place it beside her hand, letting it near the bracelet. This was because she realized that Mo Sha seemed to still be absorbing the spirit chi emitted by the golden snake fruit tree. Sighing in her heart, she took out the golden snake fruit tree and placed it beside her bed. Because it could only be placed in her interspatial ring during the day and could only be taken out at night to breathe, its current condition was extremely bad. She had specially opened a hole in her tent to allow the moonlight to shine in. Every night, the golden snake fruit tree would only recover a little after the moonlight shone in. "If this continues, I can only plant you back into nature." Sima Yue helplessly and painfully looked at the golden snake fruit tree. Many of the leaves on it had already withered and turned yellow. "Mo Sha, how much longer do you need to complete it?" Sigh. She sat cross-legged on the bed and once again entered her cultivation mode. In these 2 months, because she had tamed many spirit beasts, she had received quite a bit of spirit chi. Adding on the fact that she had increased the amount of time she spent cultivating, she had advanced to an 8th level spirit master in a little more than a month. When she left the imperial capital, she had already faintly touched the barrier to the 9th level. Chapter 149. After cultivating for a night, she woke up early the next morning and sighed as she kept the golden snake fruit tree back into her spatial ring. Long Ting, after tidying up the tents, the others also got up. After a simple wash-up, everyone started to head towards the mountains. Along the way they saw quite a few precious medicinal ingredients. Even if people passed by, they did not pick them. Those that were treated as treasures in the outside world were now completely abandoned here. Because they were not here to search for treasures, after sighing for a while, they continued to walk up. Their goal was to find spirit beasts to train and increase their strength, not to pick medicinal ingredients. After walking for half a day, they did not see a single spirit beast. Everyone's tense nerves began to relax. We haven't seen any spirit beasts for so long. This place is not as scary as the rumors say. Fatty Chu said. Fatty Chu had not finished speaking when a spirit beast's roar rang out. Very quickly, a fanged boar groaned as it appeared in front of everyone. Damn, this is a high-level spirit beast? A fanged boar can also grow to this level? Fatty Chu saw that the fanged boar did not give him any face and rolled up his sleeves, preparing to fight it out. The fanged boar outside that can grow to the 5th or 6th level is already not bad. This fanged boar actually grew to the 8th level. It's really mysterious. Wei Ziqi said. The spiritual chi here is much denser than in other places, so the spirit beast's levels are much higher. Wang Fei said. This place is only near the outside world and it already has such dense spiritual chi. Then how dense is the spiritual chi in the outside world? Fatty Chu sighed. That's a density that you can't even imagine. Yang Fei said, once you go outside you won't want to cultivate in this place anymore. Is it that exaggerated? Fatty Chu's eyes widened. The people here and outside have similar innate talents. Why is it that when compared to people of the same age, the strength of those people is higher by a few levels? It's because the spiritual chi outside is so dense that it shortens the cultivation time. Yang Fei said. Is that good? Then when we go out, will our strength also increase quickly? It's not just fast, it should be extremely fast. Yang Fei said, our talents are also very powerful outside. If we continue to live in that kind of environment, I think everyone's speed of advancement will be very fast. When the fanged boar saw that not only was it scared, but it was also talking and laughing, it was enraged and charged towards Fatty Chu, who was laughing the most happily. *CK, you know that I'm the weakest, so you attacked me? If I don't show you my power, do you think I'm a sick cat? Fatty Chu roared and raised his fist to meet the fanged boar. Spirit beasts had thick skin and could withstand beatings. Seeing Fatty Chu go up like that, Sima Yue was worried that he would be injured and wanted to help, but was stopped by Bei Gong Tang. Fatty's battle prowess isn't what it looks like. It'll be fine. Sima Yue knew that they were often together, and Bei Gong Tang should know better than her. If they were not anxious, then Fatty Chu should not have any problems either. Fatty ran towards the fanged boar. Just as the man and the beast were about to collide, Fatty's fat body nimbly dodged to the side of the fanged boar, and viciously punched it in the head. That punch landed right on the fanged boar's eye, causing it to cry out in pain. It turned around and charged towards Fatty Chu once again. This time, Fatty Chu did not dodge to the side. He stretched out both hands to grab the fanged boar's head, and quickly retreated backwards. After retreating 20 to 30 steps, he stopped and his body sank, not retreating any further. Fatty Chu roared loudly, grabbing the fanged boar's tusks and flung it to the side. The fanged boar's fat body was actually moved by him. TSK, this fatty's strength has improved. Sima Yue saw that Fatty Chu actually chose to fight with the fanged boar and was not at a disadvantage, and exclaimed in surprise. Fatty Chu had previously obtained a book on training his body from his clan. After that, he started training his body. Wei Ziqi said. Then why haven't I seen him slim down? Sima Yue looked at Fatty Chu's body. If they had not said anything, she really would not have been able to tell that Fatty Chu was training his body. When Fatty Chu, who was fighting with the fanged boar, heard Sima Yue's words, he almost could not catch his breath and threw the fanged boar away. Cough cough, I won't say any more. You can continue. Sima Yue saw that her words had affected him and coughed twice, saying this. Fatty Chu glared at Sima Yue and saw that the fanged boar was running towards him. His body rolled to the side, avoiding the fanged boar's hooves. The fanged boar moved its hooves away and stomped a hole in the ground. Fatty Chu saw the hole and thought that it was a good thing that he had avoided it. Otherwise, he would have been turned into minced meat. Damn it, you actually used such a vicious kick. Grandpa, I will definitely roast your hooves and eat them today. After he finished speaking, he flipped himself up from the ground and pounced towards the fanged boar. He circled to the side and with a leap, he sat on the fanged boar's back. 1 punch. Who asked you to hit Grandpa? 2 punches. Who asked you to step on Grandpa? 3 punches. I'll smash your pig head. 4 punches. I'll break your tusks. 5 punches. Seeing Fatty Chu land punch after punch on the fanged boar's body and hearing him say a sentence with every punch, Sima Yue and the others could not help but twitch their mouths. They really felt sorry for his hand. They did not know if it would be very painful to hit that thick skin. The fanged boar was in pain and was furious. It kept twisting its body wanting to throw him off. Fatty Chu lowered his body and directly sprawled on the fanged boar's back. No matter how it moved, it was unable to throw him off. He even punched its head and stomach from time to time. Sima Yue saw this scene and muttered, "Why do I feel an indescribable sense of familiarity? The last time when you were fighting with the acacia silk snake, didn't you use a frying pan to hug it tightly?" Bei Gongtang said. And now that she thought about it, she did the same thing at that time. No wonder she felt that it was familiar. But couldn't she just say that she was fighting with the acacia silk snake? Why did she have to add that she was holding a frying pan? She did not know that the image of her holding a frying pan to save people had left a deep impression on them. It made them want to take it out from time to time to reminisce about it. Although the situation at that time was rather dangerous, that frying pan still mercilessly entertained them. Fatty Chu and the fanged boar fought for close to an hour. In the end, Fatty Chu's head exploded with a punch. The fanged boar fell to the ground. He was also paralyzed on the ground and did not want to move at all. During the fight, Sima Yue and the others watched from the side. They only walked over when he won. Seeing the brain that flowed out, Sima Yue curled her lips and said, "This is good stuff. You actually wasted it like that." Fatty Chu lay on the ground and looked at Sima Yue and said, "Yue, I want to eat roasted pig trotters." Chapter 150. Seeing that Fatty Chu had worked so hard, Sima Yue kindly made a set of roasted pig trotters for him. At the same time, she also dissected the ivory-toothed pig so that it could be everyone's meat for the following period of time. While she was cooking, Fatty Chu sat in meditation to rest. When she was done, Fatty Chu had also recovered. Wow, smells good. Fatty Chu came over and saw that Sima Yue had already prepared everything and was roasting pig trotters. He said, "I was just saying. I didn't think that Yue would really know how to roast pig trotters. It smells so good." Sima Yue was putting the last bit of seasoning on the pig trotters. She glanced at him and said, "Didn't someone say that he wanted to eat tonight when he waved his fist?" Then he said it again. "Seeing that you want to eat so much, I'll let you do it this time." "Ah, Yue, you're just right. Whoever marries you in the future will have good food," Fatty Chu said while drooling. "I don't have any plans to get married." Sima Yue shrugged and said, "When I'm done with what I have to do, I'm afraid that I'll become a leftover woman." "You saved General Sima and the others, what else do you have to do?" Fatty Chu reached out to grab the roasted pig trotters but was slapped away by Sima Yue. "That's right, Yue, other than saving General Sima, what else do you have to do?" Wei Ziqi asked curiously. Sima Yue smiled but did not reply. She still had many things to do. She had to save Sima Lai and the others, find the original body's parents, and settle the grudges from her previous life. Although she had not recalled all the memories from her previous life from her dreams, the Shiman family's revenge was waiting for her. Other than that, she also had to help Emo Sha find the other half of his soul. She had a feeling that Emo Sha's strength was not low. If she got involved with him, she might get involved with the Devil Realm in the future. Regardless of whether it was good or bad, this gave her a headache. She prepared all the dishes before passing the roasted pig trotters to Fatty Chu. Seeing him eating so happily, it was as if he was venting all the grievances from the fight in the morning. After lunch, everyone continued to walk into the mountain. Perhaps it was because their location was closer to the inner part of the mountain, they encountered 2 high-level low-level spirit beasts in the afternoon. Because the 2 spirit beasts in the afternoon were not like the fanged boar who only knew how to use brute force, it was more difficult to deal with them. One time Sima Yue and Bei Gongtang went up together. The other time it was Ouyang Fei and Wei Ziqi. After cleaning up the mess, everyone set up camp beside a small stream in the valley. The battle in the afternoon had more or less injured everyone, so everyone went back to rest early, leaving only the spirit beasts to keep watch. Sima Yue took out the golden snake fruit tree and ate a pill to recuperate. After a while, she opened her eyes and jumped down from the bed. She took out the alchemy furnace and herbs and began to refine pills. The Sima family still relied on her to supply them with medicinal pills, so when she was resting she had to refine some commonly used medicinal pills. Then she would let Little Roar deliver them to the designated location and hand them over to the person who came to collect the goods. At the same time she treated it as practicing her alchemy skills. For the rest of the night, as long as she did not refine pills, she would cultivate or comprehend the space. As her comprehension of the space increased and deepened, she also understood more about it. The world around her also became more and more different. Space was no longer unfathomable to her. It was as if it had a life of its own and could change at any time. Half a month after entering the mountain, they found a natural cave. There were a few secret passages in the cave. Everyone tidied it up and widened it, turning it into their own rooms. For the time being, that place was their base camp. During the day they would either battle with each other or look for spirit beasts to train with. At night there were various arrangements. Sima Yue and everyone else's lives were filled to the brim. However, because the golden snake fruit tree needed moonlight to shine on it, Sima Yue would often spend the night outside. Because the spiritual qi here was dense, after every battle, everyone would spend a period of time to recover the spiritual qi in their bodies. Every time they would reap quite a bit of benefits. After entering the mountain for less than a month, Sima Yue advanced to a 9th level spirit master. More than a month later, after a battle with a 1st level sacred beast, she broke through and became a 1st level great spirit master. That night, Sima Yue was cultivating and consolidating her newly attained great spirit master cultivation. Suddenly she felt the movement of the devil's snare bracelet. She hurriedly called Little Roar out and let him set up a barrier. Once the barrier was set up, Mo Sha appeared in the cave. "It's done?" Sima Yue asked somewhat excitedly. Thinking about it, Mo Sha had not contacted her for half a year. She was worried that there would be problems during the fusion of the spirit orb. She was also worried that Mo Sha would not be able to persevere and that his soul would be harmed. However, he did not contact her, so she did not dare to contact him rashly. Mo Sha nodded and a small pagoda appeared in front of Sima Yue. It did not look any different from the 7-layered pagoda from before. 7-layered pagoda? Where's the spirit orb? Sima Yue only saw the small pagoda and asked. "Try to feel the connection between you and it," Mo Sha said. Sima Yue took the small pagoda and closed her eyes to feel it. She felt that there was a trace of connection between her and the pagoda. With a thought, she, Mo Sha and Little Roar appeared in another environment. "Where's Little Spirit?" Not seeing Little Spirit, Sima Yue looked around. "I'm here." Little Spirit slowly appeared in the air. Sima Yue went forward and hugged Little Spirit. She stretched out her hand and pinched his face, but her hand was slapped away by his palm. Look at your awkward appearance. You're still the old Little Spirit." Sima Yue hugged Little Spirit and kissed him as she said. "Haha, of course it's me." Little Spirit wiped away his non-existent saliva. His cute little wife appearance made Sima Yue even happier. "Mo Sha, how are you?" Sima Yue saw that Mo Sha's soul was paler than before and asked with concern. "I'm alright, there aren't any big problems." Mo Sha said. "I see that your soul has become a lot paler," Sima Yue said. "It's just that I used up a bit of soul energy," Mo Sha said indifferently. Sima Yue knew that his current situation was not good, but no matter how she looked at him, he did not seem to want her to worry. "I didn't take good care of that golden snake fruit tree," Sima Yue said guiltily. "I know." Mo Sha had long seen the golden snake fruit tree that was about to wither. "That fruit tree will be fine after a few days," Little Spirit said. "Furthermore, you don't need to take it out every night anymore." "What?" Sima Yue lowered her head and looked at Little Spirit as she asked. "Stupid master, didn't you notice that there are some changes here?" Little Spirit said disdainfully. "I came in to see how the two of you were doing. Naturally, I didn't notice any changes here." Sima Yue said as she looked around and said, "I feel that there are some differences between this place and before." Little Spirit rolled his eyes at Sima Yue and said, "Lower your head and look." Sima Yue obediently lowered her head and actually saw her own shadow. She raised her head and discovered that there was actually a blue sky and white clouds here. There was even a scorching sun. Chapter 151. The Sun? Looking at the sun, Sima Yue was quite shocked. In the past, although the Soul Pearl was spacious, there was no blue sky or white clouds. There was no sun. When she raised her head, it was just chaos. She didn't expect that there would be such a thing now. If there's a sun, will there be a moon? Sima Yue asked as she recalled Little Spirit's words. That's right. In the future there will also be day and night here. Little Spirit proudly said, if I want, there can even be wind and rain here. It will be more convenient to plant medicinal herbs in the future. Then wouldn't this become a mini-world? Sima Yue said in surprise. That's right. My place is now a small world. Little Spirit nodded his head and said, it's just that there aren't many open lands here, so it's not as spacious as other continents. But if there is a chance to continue improving, it will slowly become bigger. Then how can it be improved? Either you find something good to fuse with like this time or your strength increases. Because I'm connected to you now, if your strength increases, it will also be helpful to me. Sima Yue was helpless. It was related to her power again. Little Roar was an ancient divine beast. Originally, it should have been very powerful, but because of the contract with her, its strength had decreased. In other words, her strength had increased, so it would naturally recover slowly. Exquisite was a paragon artifact, but because of him she could only transform into hammers and frying pans. Now he was also saying that it was related to her strength. This made her feel pressured. But then again she had a lot of powerful things around her, but now it was like she was guarding a few big treasures, but she couldn't open the door to the treasures. She could only sneak a few peeks through the door. Since this golden snake fruit tree doesn't need to be taken out every night, it's also good. It's troublesome to move it around all the time. Sima Yue said, but didn't Emo Sha say that we can only sense the other half when we're in the bracelet? Doesn't that mean we have to be outside? No need, stay here. I don't know what this 7-layered pagoda is made of, but after fusing with it, my ability has improved. Now I can absorb the essence of heaven and earth to nourish my soul. Little Spirit proudly said. PFFF, Sima Yue burst out laughing. Absorbing the essence of heaven and earth to nourish its soul? What kind of monster did Emo Sha refine it into? Seeing that Little Spirit was angry, she quickly restrained her smile and asked, what about the 7-story pagoda? We are now in the 7-layered pagoda. Little Spirit said, this is the first floor of the 7-layered pagoda. And the first floor of the 7-story pagoda was originally not big, but after fusing with me it became bigger. Little Spirit said. He snapped his fingers and a pagoda slowly appeared in front of them. I am now the artifact spirit of this tower, so I can control this tower. This was built for you so you can enter the upper floors. Really? Sima Yue released Little Spirit, pushed open the door and walked in. The first round looked a little dark, presumably because it was just an illusion created by Little Spirit. There's a staircase on the far side. You can go upstairs from there. But Little Spirit had not finished speaking when Sima Yue ran up the stairs. In the end, she was fiercely blocked by something, causing her to fall down. Damn, what is that thing? My butt hurts. Sima Yue rubbed her butt as she got up. Little Spirit flew over and said, I haven't finished speaking, why are you in such a hurry? The second round hasn't been activated yet, so you can't go up yet. What? Sima Yue speechlessly looked at the thin layer of barrier on the stairs. Wasn't this teasing her? What, you ran so fast yourself? Little Spirit pouted, looking cute. Sima Yue pulled Little Spirit over and shook him as she asked, Little Spirit, aren't you the artifact spirit? Don't tell me you can't open it? I'm not the original artifact spirit. Little Spirit said, if I was the original artifact spirit, it would be a problem for you to go to any number of levels. However, I forcefully invaded this place. It's already not bad to be able to activate the upper few levels. It's impossible to open the barrier on every level. Then how can I go up? Sima Yue curled her lips. Is it related to my strength again? Yes, smart. It's because I'm weak again. Heavens, just strike me with lightning. Sima Yue wailed. Pa! A bolt of lightning struck Sima Yue's body, turning her body black and her hair curly. Ha! Seeing her like this, Little Spirit and Little Roar laughed unkindly. Even Emo Sha couldn't help but curl his lips. Cough cough. Sima Yue coughed twice and spat out a mouthful of black smoke. Little Spirit, what's going on? She regained her senses and saw that she was about to turn into charcoal. She shouted at Little Spirit. Little Spirit clutched his stomach as he held back his laughter and said, Haha, I forgot to tell you. Because this place has already formed its own world and you are the master of this place, your words are equivalent to the heavens here. You asked for lightning to strike you, so lightning came. Little Roar flew onto Sima Yue's head and pulled on her hair, saying, You've always said that there were curly hair in your previous life and you wanted to perm it. Now you don't have to, your hair is already curly. Sima Yue stretched out her hand and pulled on her hair a few times. She felt a piercing pain all over her body. You should eat some pills to heal first. Little Spirit strongly suggested. Humph. Sima Yue took out a bottle of pills from her interspatial ring and ate 2 of them before leaving the little pagoda. Yu, I realize that the time here is different from the outside world. Little Roar followed Sima Yue out and said. How is it different? Sima Yue rubbed her black face, leaving behind 2 white streaks. It looked even funnier. The time here passes faster than the outside world. Little Spirit said. Wasn't it like this in the past? The medicinal herbs here grow faster than the outside world. Sima Yue said disapprovingly. That was in the past, now I've leveled up. Little Spirit was dissatisfied with Sima Yue's attitude and said loudly, in the past, time only passed for plants, but now it's the same for animals. In other words, even though you've been here for so long, it's only been a short while outside. Even humans can do it? Sima Yue stared at Little Spirit with her eyes wide open. Of course. Little Spirit said proudly. So awesome. Sima Yue hugged Little Spirit and rubbed him in her embrace. She looked at Emo Sha and said excitedly, Emo Sha, what kind of awesome thing did you make for me? I didn't think that it would have such an effect. It's mainly because of the material of the 7-story pagoda. Emo Sha saw that Sima Yue's eyes were about to turn into a straight line and his heart was inexplicably happy. Sima Yue thought of a very serious problem. If it's like this, if I stay here often, won't I age faster than others? Chapter 152. Little Spirit shook his head and said, no, although the flow of time here is very fast, it won't leave any traces of time in a person's body. You will age at the same speed here as you do outside. So magical. Of course, I have something even more magical. You'll know in the future. Little Spirit kept her in suspense. What's the time difference between here and outside? 1 day outside is 3 days inside. So if I stay here for 3 days, it's equivalent to 1 day outside? Yes. Ah, that's great. Sima Yue laughed out loud. If Emo Sha wasn't in spirit form, she would have hugged him to show her excitement. She was just worrying that she didn't have enough time and now this came. It was really like someone giving her a pillow when she was sleepy. Since this was the case, she could cultivate here, learn alchemy and learn about spatial arrays. Now that she had 3 times the remaining 2 years, it was equivalent to her having 6 years. In the past, I always thought that meeting you was troublesome. Now, I truly feel that meeting you is not bad. Sima Yue stretched out her hand and poked Emo Sha's soul as she giggled. Emo Sha only glanced at her and didn't say anything. He turned into a black fog and retreated back into the bracelet. By the way, there's something else I want to show you. Little Spirit struggled out of Sima Yue's embrace and brought her to a 1-meter square pond. There's a new pool here. Sima Yue said in surprise when she saw the pool filled with a milky white liquid. This is soul fluid. Little Spirit said, plant the golden snake fruit tree next to it. The gas it emits will be absorbed into the soul fluid. Soul fluid can nourish the soul, right? Sima Yue reached out and touched it. She realized that there was very little soul fluid. It only covered the bottom of the pool with a thin layer. That's right. In the future, the heaven and earth essence I absorb will condense into this pool. You and Emo Sha can both use it. You, on the other hand, just directly consume it. Emo Sha, every once in a while you can put some soul fluid into the bracelet to nourish his soul. It's much more effective than the golden snake fruit tree. Little Spirit said. Little Spirit, you're really a heaven-defying existence. Sima Yue looked at Little Spirit. After leveling up, he could no longer be described with words. Little Spirit proudly swung his chin. He didn't even look at how much effort he and Emo Sha had put in to achieve such an effect. Of course, this was all because of the 7-layered pagoda's heaven-defying effect. He didn't know what the owner of this 7-story pagoda used to refine it, but he could feel that every material used wasn't inferior to his. Moreover, it was forged from several different materials. If he had met that master back then, he was afraid that he could only become one of the materials. Alright, you should stay here and recuperate. If you go out like this, you will definitely scare those people. Little Spirit said and disappeared. Hey, tell me what's on the upper floors before you leave. Sima Yue shouted. It's useless to tell you. When your strength reaches a certain level, you will naturally know. After Little Spirit finished speaking, his voice became silent. It seemed that he really didn't intend to tell her what was on the upper floors. Vomit. Sima Yue unhappily curled her lips. Looking at her own black arm, it seemed that she would have to stay here for the next 3 days. She first let Ye Guang out. Seeing this, the usually steady Ye Guang couldn't help but run away. When Ling Long came out, she hit Sima Yue twice and ran off to find Little Spirit to play with. All of this is out. Why does Qi Yan like to stay in the contract space? Sima Yue sensed Qi Yan. That egg was still sleeping, so she didn't care about him anymore. After that, she planted the golden snake fruit beside her soul pool. Seeing the withered yellow leaves, she took out a jade spoon and gently scooped up a spoonful of soul fluid from her soul pool. She lightly sprinkled it on the tree branch and poured the rest on the roots. I hope it has some use. After doing all this, Sima Yue stood up. Looking at the space that was different from before, she couldn't suppress the excitement in her heart. Grandfather, brother, with Little Spirit and the others, I will definitely go there to find you two in 2 years. Just as she was about to leave to cultivate, the withered golden snake fruit tree let out a rustling sound. She turned her head to look and found that the withered yellow leaves had all fallen off. The bare branches once again sprouted new buds. The new buds grew quickly and quickly they all bloomed. What is this situation? Sima Yue looked at the changes of the golden snake fruit tree and was fiercely shocked. Was this the snapshot from her previous life? It should be the soul fluid that can increase the growth of the golden snake fruit tree. Mo Sha's voice transmitted from the bracelet. The reason why it can grow so much this time is because you used too much soul fluid just now. Then if I give it another spoonful, will it bloom and bear fruit? Sima Yue asked curiously. Too much is as bad as not enough. If you aren't afraid of killing it, then you can try. Mo Sha said. Then forget it. Sima Yue kept the jade spoon. If it really died, then wouldn't she suffer a huge loss? When you have time, you can use a little to water it. It should be able to greatly increase its growth speed. Mo Sha said. I'll leave this matter to Little Spirit. Sima Yue said. If she watered it a little every day, maybe she would be able to have golden snake fruit again soon. Little Spirit, who was hiding in the shadows, was almost angered to death by Sima Yue. He appeared and hit her with Ling Long. What a waste. What a prodigal woman. Little Spirit howled in grief. Seeing Sima Yue, his face was filled with pain. Why are you so agitated? Sima Yue held her arm that was hurt and looked at Little Spirit with grievance. This soul fluid is so precious, but you actually used it to water the tree? You can only lick it lightly every time or else your soul will explode. You actually used so much at once. I'm so angry. Little Spirit glared at Sima Yue. He really shouldn't have told her about the existence of this thing. Cough cough, you didn't tell me right. Sima Yue said. Then I just gave it a big spoonful, will it explode? It won't die. However, it needs a long time to digest the soul fluid that it just absorbed. Little Spirit said. Who knows, maybe after it finishes digesting this time, it will bloom. Hee, then I'll give it a drop every time. Sima Yue said. Previously she thought that this soul fluid was too little. She could only take a drop every time. Now it seemed that this soul fluid was still a lot. She used a bottle to fill a spoonful and knocked it on the devil's snare bracelet, asking, Do you want it? A little black fog appeared on the bracelet. That black fog wrapped around the bottle and entered the bracelet. Taking another look at the golden snake fruit tree, she was satisfied and went to cultivate. Because of the abnormal recovery ability of the light demon body, her body completely recovered after a day. She fiddled around and prepared to go out. Before she went out, she changed the name of the Spirit Pearl. From now on, the Spirit Pearl and the 7-layered pagoda merged into one, and it was called the Spirit Pagoda. Chapter 153. She stayed inside for a long time, but it was not even midnight when she went outside. She let Little Roar keep the enchantment, and then she started to cultivate in the cave. Early in the morning, the few of them woke up at about the same time. They washed up and went out. Today they were going to look for spirit beasts to battle and improve their combat abilities. After staying here for 2 months, the spirit beasts in the surroundings had basically recognized them. They knew that the 5 of them had abnormal combat strength, so when they saw them they would stay far away. The few of them searched around but didn't see any spirit beasts. Helpless, they could only search further away. If we go any further, we will enter the territory of the Saint Beasts. Standing at the top of the mountain, Ouyang Fei said as he looked at the mountain range in front of him. Our things are all in the ring anyway. We can leave whenever we want. Fatty Chu said, since we can't find any spirit beasts to fight with us here, why don't we continue moving forward? Sima Yue was a little hesitant. Right now, she was a great spirit master. Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei were 9th level spirit masters, while Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu were 8th level spirit masters. It would be fine to deal with 1 or 2 saint beasts, but if they met a group it would be troublesome. However, if they continued to delay here, it would be difficult to achieve their goal of increasing their strength. Didn't you say that you grew up in the midst of danger? Wei Ziqi saw Sima Yoyue's hesitation and laughed. Sima Yoyue's eyes lit up. That's right, didn't I come here with this idea? Why am I hesitating now? Actually, it was also because she felt that Fatty Chu and the rest had followed her here. If it wasn't for her, they wouldn't have come to the Sophia mountain range. At least they wouldn't have come at this time. Therefore she would subconsciously consider their safety. Let's go. The front isn't like here. There are more spirit beasts inside and the forces are stronger. It's enough for us to stay here for a while. Yang Fei said. After sending them away, the spirit beasts that were hiding came out one after another. They hugged each other and cried bitterly. They had finally sent this group of fiends away. It had not been easy. Previously he thought that they were pushovers, but he didn't expect them to be tough nuts to crack. Every time the spirit beasts provoked them, they didn't have a good ending. They were either killed directly or beaten half to death. They were so scared that they didn't dare to show their faces again. Thus, everyone joined forces to hide from them. When they couldn't find the spirit beasts, they naturally left. Who would have thought that this move would really work? With the fiend gone, their lives could return to how they were before. When Sima Yue and the rest left, they naturally did not know what the low-level spirit beasts were thinking. If they knew, they would probably die. They were not as perverted as they were described to be. However, she also discovered that every single one of them had the strength to fight against those of a higher level. Although Wei Ziqi and the rest were still spirit masters, dealing with a great spirit master was not a problem at all. As for Beigong and Ouyang Fei, if they went all out, their battle prowess could even match that of a level 7 or 8 great spirit master. Needless to say, with her martial arts from her previous life, her abnormal spiritual power in this life, and her pool of spiritual power that was larger than the average person's after her transformation, as well as her all-elemental talent, even if she encountered a mid-level spiritual king, she would still have a chance of winning. Remembering that she could use the spirit pagoda now, she let little spirit pick some spirit fruits and gave 2 to each of them. They ate the spirit fruits as they hurried on their way. Spirit fruit? Yue, where did you come from? Fatty Chu saw the spirit fruit and took a bite. It was watery, and when he ate it, a wave of spiritual power flowed from his stomach to his meridians, following his meridians and flowing into his pool of spiritual power. I made it. Sima Yue said as she took a bite of the spirit fruit. This spirit fruit is much better than the ones we ate before. It contains a lot more spiritual power. Wei Ziqi said. Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei silently ate the spirit fruits, but their eyes were filled with curiosity. Sima Yue did not want to tell them about the existence of the spirit pagoda now. Although everyone had guessed a little, they all had a tacit understanding. Of course, letting them know some of her secrets, other than trusting them, was also for her own convenience. When the time came, it would not be too troublesome for her to do anything. After all, living together, there were some secrets that were not easy to hide. Furthermore, eating spirit fruits often could increase everyone's cultivation. There's movement. Sima Yue suddenly stopped and threw away the spirit fruit in her hand. She took out Ling Long and looked to the left in front of her warily. Seeing Sima Yue throw away the spirit fruit that she had just eaten, Fatty Chu's heart ached. However, thinking about it, he knew that she definitely had a lot of spirit fruits. He was happy. Did this mean that he would be able to eat spirit fruits in the future? This time they met a first-level saint beast, saber-toothed tiger. When it saw them, the saber-toothed tiger immediately rushed over, as if it was hungry and wanted to eat them. We met a saint beast the moment we arrived. Do you have to be so fast? Fatty Chu kept the remaining spirit fruits into his spatial ring and took out his own weapon to meet it. Ouyang Fei and the others were not slow either. When Fatty Chu was complaining, they had already started moving. Although there was only a difference of 1 level between a first-level saint beast and a 9th-level low spirit beast, the difference in strength was too great. They could deal with a 9th-level low spirit beast in 2s and 3s, but against the saint beast they still had to work together. Half an hour later, the 5 of them had successfully subdued the saber-toothed tiger. They did not want to kill it, so they did not take its life. Yue, doesn't the Sima family still need spirit beasts? Why don't we tame it and send it back along with the pills when the time comes? Wei Ziqi said. The price of a saint beast was several times higher than that of a low-level spirit beast. A single saint beast was equivalent to the income of many low-level spirit beasts. Sima Yue thought about it and agreed. The Sima family still needed spirit beasts to keep up appearances. She had promised the Beast Tamer Master Guild that she would tame some saint beasts for them, but that had not happened yet. She might as well tame these spirit beasts and send them back when the time comes. After this period of time of cultivating the training spirit arts, as well as the growth of her own strength, her mental strength had increased by quite a bit. Now it was much easier to tame saint beasts. Sometimes she would let Wei Ziqi tame them. After coming to the Sophia Mountain Range, she had taught the first part of the training spirit arts to Wei Ziqi. She did not say that it was a part of the training spirit arts, but only that it was a method to increase one's mental strength. Wei Ziqi persisted in his practice every night. Now he was also able to tame spirit beasts within the second level of saint beasts. Thus, the group of people began to sweep through the mountains again. As they continued to increase their own strength, they did not forget to tame all the spirit beasts. They knew that Sima Yue had something that could store living creatures. Seeing her tame spirit beasts one by one, they were not surprised at all. Every day they ate spirit fruits, battled with spirit beasts, and absorbed the dense spirit qi in the mountains. Although they were constantly on the verge of death, their strength was still increasing like a rocket. A few months later, Sima Yue sat on Little Roar and left by herself. She came to the place where she first entered the Sophia Mountain Range. There, the Sima family's housekeeper was waiting for her. The last time she sent the pills, she said that she wanted him to bring over 10 cages for spirit beasts. Thus, he hurriedly went to the Beast Tamer Master Guild to borrow some cages. Without stopping to rest, he rushed over and waited for Sima Yue to come out. Chapter 154. Young Master. Seeing that Sima Yue was sitting on Little Roar, the butler heaved a sigh of relief and brought his men to greet her. At least she had been here for a few months and was still fine. Uncle Fu, have you been waiting here for a long time? Sima Yue got down from Little Roar and helped the butler up. No, I just arrived not long ago, the butler said. In fact, he had been waiting here for a few days. Did you bring the cage I asked you to prepare? Sima Yue asked. I've brought them. With a thought from the butler, hundreds of cages appeared at the foot of the mountain. Young master, you've already sent back a lot of low-level spirit beasts. Why do you need so many cages this time? Sima Yue looked at the cages and nodded her head in satisfaction. Hearing his words, she said, the spiritual beasts from before weren't of a high level. This time I've prepared some higher level ones. When you go back, give some of them to the Beast Tamer Master Guild and keep the rest as the store's signature item. Then I'll raise some 7th or 8th grade spirit beasts. Whoever in the family needs to contract them can do so. Level 7 or 8 Saint Beast. When the guards heard Sima Yue's casual words, they couldn't help but gasp. Young master, where did you get so many spirit beasts? The housekeeper was not concerned about the spirit beasts, but about Sima Yue's safety. Usually I'll just accept it when I'm defeated. As Sima Yue spoke, she took out the spirit beasts from the spirit pagoda and said, put these spirit beasts in. The guards initially thought that Sima Yue was exaggerating when she said that she had brought so many cages over. They did not expect that she had actually tamed so many spiritual beasts. Even though they boasted that they were experienced and knowledgeable, they had never seen so many tamed spirit beasts at once. Didn't you hear young master's words? Pack up these spirit beasts. The butler urged when he saw that the guards didn't move. Yes, butler. Hearing the steward's urging, those people moved and put the spirit beasts into cages. Sima Yue smiled and said, Uncle Fu, I've prepared a spirit beast for you. Meh. Sima Yue nodded and took out the spirit beast that she had prepared for the butler. 9th level holy beast. Goshawk. Heavens, it's really a level 9 holy beast. Sima Yue looked at the butler and said, this is the highest level spirit beast that I can tame now. Once you guys form a contract with it, it should be able to become a divine beast. Uncle Fu, what do you think? The butler noticed that Sima Yue was looking at him like a child waiting to be praised. He waved his hand and said, young master, how can I accept this level 9 holy beast? You should keep it for yourself. Sima Yue held his hand and said, Uncle Fu, I know how to tame beasts and I'm in the Sophia Mountain Range. Why would I be afraid that there won't be any spirit beasts for me to contract? I know that you've been able to form a contract with other spirit beasts for a long time, but you've never met a suitable one. Now this is something that I've specially prepared for you. Are you still unwilling to accept it? Butler, this is a token of young master's appreciation. Please accept it. Yeah. The guards behind him all tried to persuade him. The butler looked at Sima Yue's sincere gaze and the corners of his eyes became slightly moist. He nodded and said, all right. This old servant will accept it. This old servant thanks young master. Previously, she had not been able to tame such a high-level spirit beast. After a few months in the Sophia mountain range, she was able to tame a level 9 holy beast. How hard must she have been working these past few months? Then you can form a contract with it. Sima Yue pulled him to the front of the goshawk and placed his hand on the goshawk's forehead. Then she retreated to the side and watched him form a contract. The light of the contract first enveloped the man and beast. After the contract was successful, the man and beast were then enveloped by the light of promotion. Sima Yue looked at the goshawk on the ground and remembered that Sima Lin had used this to take Sima Lai and the others away. After the promotion, the goshawk successfully became a divine beast and the butler advanced 2 levels, breaking through the spirit overlord and becoming a level 1 spirit emperor. Spirit emperor. The butler has become a spirit emperor. Seeing the butler's current level, everyone became excited. The butler also did not think that he would become a spirit emperor just like that. For a moment he felt as if he was in a dream. Yes, Uncle Fu is also a spirit emperor. With the addition of the divine beast, the Sima family is equivalent to having 2 spirit emperors. Sima Yue was happy for the butler. In the future the Sima family will be handed over to you. No one will dare to casually come and provoke us. Young master. The butler understood the meaning behind Sima Yue's words and looked at her anxiously. Uncle Fu, wait for me to go over there. The Sima family will be handed over to you sooner or later. Sima Yue said, if Grandpa and I don't come back, then the Sima family will be handed over to you. Young master, we will wait for you to come back. The butler said. If we can save Grandpa and the others, it will be up to them whether they want to come back or not. If we can't save them, the Sima family cannot remain without a master. Sima Yue said, 10 years? If we don't come back in 10 years, you will be the master of the Sima family. With your current strength, it is natural for you to become the master of the family. Young master, Uncle Fu, don't decline. You should know that a family cannot remain without a master. Sima Yue said, you don't want to see the Sima family decline like this, right? Do you want me to be worried about this place even when I leave? I promise, young master. The butler replied unwillingly. Yes, I will leave here in a year and go over there. I will try my best to prepare more pills and spirit beasts for you. But you have to quickly recruit an alchemist and beast tamer. Sima Yue said. I understand, young master. The butler said, we have already recruited an alchemist. Young master, you don't have to worry about the pills. That's good. Sima Yue said. Young master, regarding the matter of saving the general, you have to do your best. I think the general and the other young masters don't want you to live too hard for them. The butler said with heartache. Sima Yue looked at the old man who loved her like an uncle. She smiled sweetly and said, happiness is happiness when a family is together. No matter how good one's life is, it's not good to be alone. Uncle Fu, you have to take care of yourself. They are still waiting for me. I will go back first. Sigh, young master, go ahead. Be careful. The butler said with a sigh. Sima Yue hugged the butler and turned around to sit on Little Roar. She waved at the butler and flew towards Sophia Mountain. The butler and the guards watched as Sima Yue left. Only when she disappeared did they plan to leave. Butler, we have so many sacred beasts. How are we going to bring them back? A guard looked at the dozens of cages and was worried. The butler didn't think that there would be so many. He originally wanted to bring 2 cages each, but he didn't think that there would be so many cages. Master, sit on me back. Goshawk said, and its body grew bigger. Its huge body was more than enough to put down the dozens of cages. There was no other way now. The butler nodded and said, okay, you guys carry the cages up. Those guards didn't think that they would be able to sit on a sacred beast in their lifetime. After carrying the cages up, everyone sat on Goshawk and headed back to the imperial capital. When they returned to the imperial capital, the divine beasts earned the attention of the Sima family. It also announced to others that the Sima family's position was unshakable. Chapter 155. Sima Yue sat on Little Roar and returned to Sophia Mountain Range. When they returned, Fatty Chu was fighting with Wei Ziqi. Every time the 5 of them fought, they used real guns and bullets. They really wanted to compete with each other. Only a real fight could improve people. They didn't want to become someone who only knew how to cultivate but had no combat power. Sima Yue landed beside Bei Gong Tang and the others while Little Roar ran off to play by himself. She was not worried about Little Roar's safety. Perhaps it was because he was an auspicious beast, so no matter how high his rank was, he would be able to play with others very quickly. Those spirit beasts would not harm him. Bei Gongtang nodded towards Sima Yue and asked, "Is it done?" "Yes, I've already handed it over to Uncle Fu and the others," Sima Yue said. Seeing Fatty Chu rushing towards Wei Ziqi, she sighed, "Fatty's speed is much faster than before." "Yeah, you've lost a lot of weight. Seems like this is also effective," Ouyang Fei said. "Fatty, you must have lost a few kilos in the past few months, right? Are we still going to call him Fatty when he's not fat anymore?" Sima Yue rubbed her chin and pondered. "He's not fat anymore. He looks like he's not used to it," Bei Gongtang said. When Fatty Chu heard them talking about his figure, he rolled his eyes speechlessly, but the movements of his hands did not slow down. He was no longer the young lad who was distracted when he first entered the mountain and was thrown out by his opponents. These few months of hard training had matured him quite a bit. Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu fought for close to half an hour, and in the end, it was still Wei Ziqi who had a slight advantage. Although Fatty Chu had lost, he was in a pretty good mood. He laid on the ground and laughed heartily. "Ha, this time I've lasted longer than the last time. Ziqi, I might be able to surpass you soon." "Oh wait," Wei Ziqi said without showing any signs of weakness. After the two of them had rested, Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei started to fight again. Not long after, they heard Little Roar wailing as he ran towards them. "You run. The bandits are coming." Sima Yue looked towards the direction where Little Roar came from and was immediately stunned. Damn, what the hell was that group of divine beasts? Little Roar flew in front as a group of divine beasts chased after him. That fiendish appearance made it seem as if Little Roar had provoked them and was being chased after. "You save me." Little Roar saw Sima Yue from afar and quickly flew towards her. Sima Yue immediately reacted and shouted at Bei Gongtang and the others, "Ouyang Bei Gong, stop fighting, run. Fatty, don't just lie there, get up." "What's the matter, Yue? I'm so tired that I don't even have the energy to run." Fatty Chu lay on the ground, not realizing that danger had arrived. "Me too, I don't have any strength left," Wei Ziqi said. The nearby spirit beasts had all been taken care of by them, and there weren't many spirit beasts that were willing to come out. They had been planning to change their location for the past 2 days, so they didn't leave any energy for themselves when they were fighting. Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei heard Sima Yue's words and stopped. They looked towards the direction of the commotion and saw a group of divine beasts. The two of them were stunned. It was Sima Yue's shout that made them come back to their senses. They ran over and helped Sima Yue pull the two people on the ground as they ran. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi only just realized that a group of divine beasts were attacking. This time, they didn't need Sima Yue to urge them as they started running on their own. F***CK, aren't the divine beasts in the inner regions? Why are there so many divine beasts here? Fatty Chu saw the divine beasts quickly approaching and shouted. It must be Little Roar's fault again. Sima Yue didn't need to think to know that he must have teased someone he shouldn't have teased. "No, spirit beasts. No, I can't run anymore." Fatty Chu ran for a while and was really too tired. He didn't have any energy left. Sima Yue saw that the divine beasts had already locked onto them. Even if they continued to run, they wouldn't be able to escape. There were quite a few divine beasts and many saint beasts. They could kill them in a matter of minutes. There was no other way. Sima Yue stopped. Ouyang Fei and the others saw that she had stopped and followed suit, saying anxiously, "Yue, run quickly. We can't outrun them even if we run." Sima Yue said, "Little Roar, you better hurry up." Fatty Chu already couldn't run anymore. He ran to Sima Yue's side and supported her as he panted heavily. Little Roar turned his head to look at the divine beasts that were just a little bit away from him. He moved his little legs and increased his speed, pouncing into Sima Yue's embrace. Bei Gongtang and the others also knew that it was useless to continue running. Seeing that Sima Yue and the others had stopped, they also stopped and prepared to make a last stand. "You quickly catch me." Little Roar pounced into Sima Yue's embrace, and those spirit beasts also pounced over. They had already seen the divine beast's teeth clearly and thought that they were most likely going to die here today. However, just as the divine beasts were a few meters away from them and pounced towards them, the scene in front of them suddenly changed. The divine beasts had all disappeared. Fatty Chu closed his eyes and waited for the last bit of pain. However, it didn't come even after a long time. He opened his eyes slightly, wanting to see what was going on. He didn't expect to see a foreign place. Where are the divine beasts? Fatty Chu opened his eyes and saw that the others were there. He asked suspiciously. Bei Gongtang and the others were also surprised as they looked at their surroundings, asking, "Yue, where is this?" "This is inside the spirit pagoda." Sima Yue said, "It's my own space." Spirit pagoda? Your own space? Isn't there no air in the space so it can't contain living things? The spirit pagoda is a little special. It's a world of its own. It's not much different from the outside. It's just that it's inside a pagoda. Sima Yue said, the spirit fruits that you all eat grow here. Wow, there really are so many spirit fruits. Fatty Chu saw a patch of spirit fruit trees. There were all kinds of spirit fruits hanging on the trees looking very tempting. He couldn't resist the temptation and ran to a tree to pluck one. When he held it in his hands, he started to chew on it. So many medicinal ingredients. Bei Gong Tang saw all kinds of medicinal ingredients of different ages and walked over quickly. Star grass, colored glass leaves, shenku, so many kinds. Sima Yue didn't expect Bei Gong Tang to be so familiar with medicinal ingredients, saying, Bei Gong, are you familiar with medicinal ingredients too? Yeah, my family used to be an alchemy family. Although I don't have the qualifications to learn, I still have a good understanding of medicinal ingredients. Bei Gong Tang said. The spirit beasts that you tamed before were also placed here, right? Wei Ziqi thought of those spirit beasts and knew that she had a place where living things could be placed, but he didn't expect it to be this kind of space. Yue, this place of yours is really too mystical. Fatty Chu looked at the things in the spirit pagoda and his eyes almost popped out. I'll bring you all around in a while. Sima Yue said. She grabbed Little Roar, who wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape, and said with a serious face, Speak, what did you do this time? Chapter 156. Little Roar shrunk his neck and rolled his eyes left and right. He tried to pat Sima Yue's hand with his short legs. I didn't do anything. Sima Yue bent her index finger and thumb and flicked his head, saying, If you didn't do anything, why would those divine beasts chase after you? Don't you have a natural affinity with spirit beasts? If you didn't do something wrong, why would an entire herd of spirit beasts chase after you? Are you going to tell me or not? If you don't tell me, I'll throw you out. In any case, those divine beasts are still outside. Hearing Sima Yue's threat, Little Roar reluctantly said, Actually, I really didn't do anything. I just saw that their queen was pretty and said a few words. How many words did he say? Sima Yue patted its head again and roared, Did you go and flirt with their queen? I didn't say anything, and then the queen said she wanted to go with me. Little Roar was still feeling very wronged. Who knew that their king actually took it seriously? That's why it's like this. I really only said a few words. Sima Yue was speechless. This guy really knew how to cause trouble. What did you say? She guessed that it was definitely not something ordinary. Otherwise, why would they send so many divine beasts and holy beasts to kill it? I was just saying that you're so pretty. Do you want to go somewhere else with me to play or something? Seeing Sima Yue's gaze getting darker and darker, Little Roar's voice got softer and softer, and his neck got tighter and tighter. When Sima Yue saw Little Roar's expression, she was both angry and amused. How could she have such a lustful, contracted beast? Didn't the ancient books say that auspicious beasts represented peace? Why did she see such a wretched expression on Little Roar? Especially when she was wearing a cute coat. Every time it made a mistake, it used its cute appearance to gain sympathy. Its attitude was sincere and it did not change. Seeing Sima Yue's angry look, Little Roar blinked his big cute eyes and hugged his two front legs together. He said weakly, Yu, I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Piff! The four people at the side burst out in laughter. They never thought that Little Roar would be able to stir up such a situation. He actually went to flirt with the queen of the divine beasts. Cough cough, Yue, since he has already admitted his mistake, you shouldn't blame him. Bei Gong Tang saw Little Roar's appearance and was mesmerized by his cuteness, so she pleaded on his behalf. That's right, that's right. Little Roar nodded his head in agreement. Sima Yue flicked it again and said, If you dare to flirt with spiritual beasts again, I'll lock you in the contract space for a year. Little Roar wanted to use his short legs to cover his head, but his legs were too short, so he could only cover his ears. I won't, it hurriedly promised. If there's a next time, I'll teach you a lesson. Sima Yue said as she threw Little Roar into the air. Once Little Roar obtained his freedom, he ran away like a wisp of smoke. Seeing this man and beast, everyone laughed. Yue, how long do we have to stay here? Fatty Chu came over and asked. At least until those spiritual beasts leave. Sima Yue said. I feel that it doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter even if we stay here for a few years. Fatty Chu said. The spiritual chi here is much denser than outside. If we can cultivate here, the effects will be even better. This place also has its own restrictions. Sima Yue said, Little spirit, let us see the situation outside. Little spirit appeared in the air. With a wave of his little hand, a curtain appeared in the air, and the situation outside appeared in front of everyone. Those spiritual beasts were circling around outside non-stop, as if they were puzzled as to why these people had suddenly disappeared. Looks like they won't leave for a while. We have to stay here for a while. Sima Yue saw a few spiritual beasts lying on the ground as if waiting for them to appear. Yue, this is? Wei Ziqi looked at Little Spirit. What was a little child doing here? This is Little Spirit. He is the weapon spirit of the Spirit Pagoda. Sima Yue said, he is in charge of everything here. He is my little housekeeper. Weapon spirit. Bei Gong Tang looked at Little Spirit in shock. When she was in the primordial lands, she knew that there were some divine weapons that could produce a weapon spirit. However, those divine weapons were of a very high level and there were very few of them. She never thought that Sima Yue would actually have one. Sima Yue said, since we can't go out now, I'll bring you guys around. Sure, I'm very curious about this place. Fatty Chu said with a smile. Although Ouyang Fei and the others did not say anything, their gazes were the same. Sima Yue brought them around. The medicine field, the pill refining room, the cultivation room and the library. In the library they realized that there were many different types of books. They were a little dazzled. Pill refining, weapon refining, beast taming, cultivation. Oh my god Yue, you have everything here. Wei Ziqi looked at the books and became extremely excited. Little Spirit's previous owners had all kinds of occupations. These things were all left behind by them. Sima Yue said, if you guys are interested in anything, feel free to look around. Really? Of course. Anyway, it's not like these books will disappear after you read them. Sima Yue smiled and said, furthermore, the resources here are very rich. You can practice as much as you want. Of course, there are no spirit beasts, but there are many in the mountains outside. If it was in the past, she would have hesitated to bring them in. However, they had walked all the way to where they were now and had experienced a lot together. Even when she was at her lowest point, they did not alienate her. Instead, they did their best to help her and comfort her. The reason why the Sima family was not annexed after Sima Lai was because of their help. She had always kept their feelings for her in her heart. Furthermore, they were worried that she would be alone, so they even chose to come here with her. After such a long period of observation, she understood everyone's character. She had said before that she did not care about adding flowers to brocade. She cared more about providing help in times of need. Furthermore, these things were useless here, so she might as well share them with them. I suddenly feel like I'm in a dream. Fatty Chu stretched out his hand and pinched Wei Ziqi, who was beside him. The latter cried out in pain. If you can still cry out, it means that you can feel pain. Then we're not in a dream. Fatty Chu did not see the anger in Wei Ziqi's eyes and said happily. Ouyang Fei rolled his eyes at the two of them and continued to read the book in his hand. Bei Gong Tang smiled faintly and lowered her head to look at the book in her hand before putting it down. Sima Yue looked at the book she was reading just now. It was a book on alchemy. She could see the reluctance in Bei Gong Tang's eyes. She seemed to want to learn alchemy, but she forced herself to put it down. Bei Gong, don't you want to learn alchemy? She asked. I do, but we don't have that much time to learn now, Bei Gong Tang said. When she said this, the excited Fatty Chu and the others' smiles faded. They urgently needed to increase their strength and did not have the time to learn these things. They were not like Sima Yue, who had such abnormal talent. Chapter 157. As long as you want to learn, there will always be time, Sima Yue said. Didn't the great man say that time is like water in a sponge? As long as you are willing to squeeze, there will always be some. Bei Gong Tang still shook her head, saying, I need to spend more time cultivating because I don't have that much time left. Is it because of your family? Sima Yue asked. I said that I would go and save them, but I can't go now. I have to reach the divine rank as soon as possible. Only then will I have the qualifications to save them. Bei Gong Tang said, so my goal isn't to walk out of this mountain range. Seeing the forbearance on Bei Gong Tang's face, everyone felt bad for her. Fatty Chu said, Bei Gong, who are you going to save? My mother and brother. Where's your father? Don't mention that scum to me. Bei Gong Tang suddenly became agitated, and her tone was a little bad. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. Sima Yue walked over and held her hand. Bei Gong, can you tell us more about yourself? My story is actually very simple. I met a scumbag father who fell in love with another woman. That woman gave birth to a daughter and then bullied my mother and brother together. Due to some reasons I was chased out and fled to the Dongqin country. Bei Gong Tang finished her story in a few sentences, but they could see that it wasn't easy for her. Are your mother and brother still in the clan? Ouyang Fei asked with a frown. Bei Gong Tang nodded, saying, Our clan is an alchemy clan, but they don't allow me and my younger brother to refine pills. My mother's alchemy level is not bad, but her strength is not strong, so they imprisoned my brother and my mother and made my mother refine pills for them. After that, I escaped. I told my brother and the others that I would go back and save them. Bei Gong Tang thought of the past and clenched her fists tightly. Bei Gong, don't worry. Auntie and brother will be fine. Sima Yue comforted her. But even so, you can still learn alchemy. Yu, thank you for your kind intentions, but I still want to spend my time and effort on cultivation. Bei Gong Tang said. I can give you some other time, Sima Yue said. Other times? Not only Bei Gong Tang, the others were also puzzled. You guys just came in, so you might not have noticed that the flow of time here is different from the outside. Sima Yue said, 1 day outside is 3 days here. 3 days. The four of them shouted at the same time. Yes, and the spirit pagoda will erase the traces of time. We won't age faster here than outside. It's equivalent to treating 1 day as 3 days, Sima Yue explained. Oh my god, Yue, you're practically a godly cheat. Fatty Chu clutched his chest, feeling as if he couldn't breathe. Cultivating here for 3 days is equivalent to cultivating for a day outside. The spirit chi is also much better than outside. When cultivating here, the speed is not simply doubled. Ouyang Fei said. No wonder you're so abnormal. Fatty Chu said. Sima Yue shook her head and said, this place didn't have this function before. It was only after Little Spirit had leveled up that it had this function. But at that time we were already in the mountains, so we didn't come in often. So you're saying that your previous cultivation was the same as ours? Wei Ziqi looked at Sima Yue. This guy's time was the same as theirs, but he grew faster than them. This was too much of a blow to them. Before he had leveled up, his growth was already so abnormal. Now that he had this function, they could already imagine how he would agitate them in the future. Normally we'll be outside training with the spirit beasts. Other times we can come in here. Sima Yue said, this way Bei Gong, you can learn alchemy. Bei Gong Tang nodded her head heavily, looking at Sima Yue. She suppressed the gratitude in her heart. Since it's so good, Yue, can I learn how to refine weapons? Fatty Chu asked. Of course, compared to other professions, refining weapons requires a lot more physical strength. You've learned how to cultivate your body, so it's not bad if you can learn how to refine weapons. Sima Yue said. Fatty, with your carefree personality, can you learn it? Wei Ziqi laughed. Who knows, I might be able to learn it. Fatty Chu said. Little Spirit, is there still a furnace for refining weapons here? Sima Yue asked. There should be. Little Spirit said, anyway, the things are all in the pavilion. You guys can go look for them yourselves. Alright, I'll bring you guys to look for them later. Sima Yue said, I remember there are 2 more pill furnaces. Let's find them together. Okay. Fatty Chu said excitedly. Sima Yue looked at Ouyang Fei and asked, Ouyang, what do you want to learn? I don't have Fatty's physical strength, so I'd better learn how to refine pills. Ouyang Fei didn't forget to tease Fatty Chu. I'd better study beast taming. Wei Ziqi said, I've read many books about beast taming here. I'll just read those. Anyway, there are many things here. If you don't know one thing, you can learn another. Sima Yue said. And then, after that, Sima Yue brought them to the pavilion to look for 2 pill furnaces and a weapon furnace. Then she let them choose a room to study while she went back to her room to cultivate. Fatty Chu pulled Wei Ziqi around one more time before going back to his room to study weapon refinement. A day later, Sima Yue took a look. Those spirit beasts were still guarding there, probably wondering if they would suddenly appear. However, everyone wasn't in a hurry. Those who cultivated, those who researched, those who wanted to rest could walk around. They didn't have to worry about whether the mermen or spirit beasts would appear. Their days were very comfortable. Speaking of which, they hadn't been so relaxed since they arrived at the Sophia mountain range. 2 days had passed outside before those spirit beasts left. Sima Yue and the rest came out again. Maybe it was because they had absorbed a lot of spirit energy, or maybe it was because their tense bodies had finally relaxed. The 5 of them came out of the spirit pagoda and leveled up one after another. This made Fatty Chu and the rest snort in satisfaction. In the following days, they didn't need to find a place to rest. Every time, they would find spirit beasts outside to fight before returning to the spirit pagoda to rest. Time always passed quickly when there was a schedule. Sima Yue and the rest didn't know that another year had passed. Sima Yue gave the pills and spirit beasts that she had prepared to the Sima family. Wei Ziqi and the rest stayed in the spirit pagoda. Maybe it was because they knew that Sima Yue was about to leave, but these few times, it was the housekeeper who came personally to take the things. Sima Yue gave the spirit beasts to him, saying that this was the last time. The housekeeper saw that Sima Yue had changed. Hearing that she was about to leave, he couldn't help but cry. However, other than telling Sima Yue to take care, he couldn't say anything else. This was because he knew that this day would come sooner or later. Chapter 158. This time, Sima Yue chose to watch the butler leave. Recalling the reluctant expression on the housekeeper's face before he left, she secretly swore in her heart that she would definitely take them out of this place and into a wider world. She called Wei Ziqi and the rest out. Everyone saw the sadness in her eyes and patted her shoulders, saying, "Parting is for the next reunion." "I understand." Sima Yue said, "Do you want to go back for a while? If you want to go back, we'll wait for you here." Fatty Chu glanced at Wei Ziqi and the two of them nodded, saying, "I don't know when I will be able to return after leaving this time. Whether or not I can return, I want to go back and say goodbye to my parents." "Yue, do you want to go back?" Sima Yue shook her head. "I've already said goodbye to the butler. Beigong Ouyang and I will wait for you here. If you don't want to come, you can send a message. We will definitely come back. Just wait for us for a few days." Fatty Chu said with certainty. "Yes, go ahead. Let's meet here in 10 days. Sima Yue waved at them. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi called out their own spirit beasts and left, quickly disappearing from everyone's line of sight. "What are we going to do in the next 10 days? Sima Yue looked at the city in the distance and said, "Do you want to go into the city and relax?" Bei Gong Tang shook her head, saying, "I'd rather cultivate in the spirit pagoda for a month." "Me too," Ouyang Fei said. "All right then." The three of them walked into the mountain. After confirming that there was no one around, he brought the other two into the spirit pagoda. Excluding the time spent fighting with the spirit beasts, they spent most of their time in the spirit pagoda. In total, they spent more than 2 years in the spirit pagoda. During this period of time, the three of them had made quite a bit of progress in refining pills. Bei Gong Tang had become a third-ranked alchemist, Ouyang Fei had become a second-ranked alchemist, and Sima Yue was already proficient in refining fourth-ranked pills. She was close to becoming a fifth-ranked alchemist. Sima Yue's improvement in alchemy was due to Mo Sha's secret guidance, while Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei's improvement was due to her guidance. Bei Gong Tang's clan was an alchemist clan. Naturally, she knew how difficult it was to refine pills. She never thought that she would become a third-ranked alchemist so quickly under Sima Yue's guidance. Furthermore, the method of refining pills was very unique. If no one explained it in detail, it would be very difficult for ordinary people to learn. Actually, what she didn't know was that Yue had learned all these from Mo Sha, and Mo Sha's alchemy skills were renowned throughout the 3 realms. He was known as the #1 alchemist in the 3 realms. At that time, his alchemy skills made many people scramble like ducks, but unfortunately no one could learn it. Who would have thought that it would benefit Sima Yue and the others in the end? The 3 of them stayed in the spirit pagoda for a month. Other than cultivating, Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei were refining pills. On the other hand, Sima Yue was managing her time flexibly. Very quickly it was the appointed day. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi arrived at the appointed place very early. "You guys are actually so early." A huge bird flew over. Sima Yue sat on top of it and looked at the two below. "Yue, how did your little rock become a divine beast in just 10 days? Fatty Chu looked at the 4-winged rock and leapt onto Little Rock's back. "Spirit King. Only people who were Spirit Kings and above could fly." Fatty Chu could fly up, which meant that he was already a Spirit King. Wei Ziqi smiled and with a leap he also flew up. Another Spirit King. A year ago they were only high-level Spirit Masters. Who would have thought that in a year's time, the two of them would already be Spirit Kings? Little Roar sat on Big Rock's head and turned around to look at the two of them, saying, "You finally made a contract with Little Rock today, so he became a divine beast. Not only did he rise, even Ye Guang rose a few ranks. Only I didn't rise at all. It's really unfair." "Why didn't you rise?" Sima Yue looked at Little Roar and asked. "Did I rise? Why don't I feel anything?" Little Roar blinked his eyes filled with suspicion. "You've risen. After so many years your face has grown thicker." Sima Yue looked at Little Roar as if she expected better from him. Only then did Little Roar realize that Sima Yue was making fun of him. He unhappily glared at her and turned his butt towards her. Every time they saw Sima Yue and Little Roar bicker, they felt a different kind of joy. Little Rock carried them in the direction that Ouyang Fei said. That was the place where he came from. It was said that the spirit beasts there were weaker. They decided to leave from that place. Little Rock flew for 4 to 5 days. Just as Fatty Chu was lamenting that they had not reached their destination, Little Rock said that there was an obstacle in front and they could not advance. It should be here. Ouyang Fei said. Little Rock, bring us down. Sima Yue said. Yes, master. Little Rock flapped his wings and brought them down. When they landed on the ground, he transformed and flew onto Sima Yue's shoulder. Sima Yue looked around and realized that the trees here were much sparser than the other places. She tried to walk forward but felt an invisible pressure obstructing her. Fatty Chu also felt the pressure and stretched out his hand to touch it. However, he did not find anything. There's nothing. Why can't we leave? Fatty Chu did not understand. Because there's a barrier here. Little Roar flew in front of everyone. Seeing that they could not leave, he started giggling. Then, under the shocked gazes of Fatty Chu and the others, he easily flew out. Why did Little Roar go out? Don't tell me there's no barrier here? Fatty Chu came to the place where Little Roar went out and walked forward. However, he still could not take another step forward. What's going on? Wei Ziqi also went to try, but it was to no avail. Little Roar had enough of laughing and floated back. You guys don't have to learn from Little Roar. Sima Yue said, it doesn't know what's wrong with its structure. It's naturally immune to barriers, so this barrier can't trap it at all. Wow, that's great. I heard from Ouyang that those people outside like to use barriers to protect their treasures. Little Roar is naturally immune to barriers. Isn't that an essential tool for burglary? Fatty Chu looked at Little Roar with stars in his eyes. Good, I like it. Little Roar patted his short legs and agreed. Sima Yue patted Fatty Chu's head and pulled Little Roar over. She pulled on his long ears and said, if you don't open the barrier for us, I'll make you follow Fatty Chu everywhere. Ao, I got it. Little Roar struggled a few times before Sima Yue let go of him. He rubbed his ears and walked in front of the barrier. He stretched out his short legs and touched the barrier. He closed his eyes and meditated. The place where his legs touched the barrier slowly turned light blue. Chapter 159. A pale blue halo slowly spread out with Little Roar's hand as the center, forming a circle that was about the height of a person. You quickly go over. Little Roar said. That's it. Fatty Chu looked at the beautiful halo. The enchantment that had trapped the people of the Dongqing kingdom for so long had been so easily dealt with? Let's go. Sima Yue knew Little Roar's ability and took the lead to pass through the middle of the light. When Bei Gongtang and the others saw this, they also walked over one after another. Just as the few of them had walked over, Little Roar released the barrier. Roar. Where are you going, you pervert? A roar came from the mountain range in the distance, startling everyone. Little Roar turned around to take a look. Oh my god, wasn't this the Beast King whose wife he had teased the last time? Bastard, isn't your territory over there? Why are you here? Little Roar scolded as he saw the divine beast galloping over. This king has been looking for you for more than a year and finally found you. Let's see where you can run to today. The Beast King glared at Little Roar, his eyes filled with rage. Little Roar came back to his senses and wanted to give him the middle finger, but he realized that his fingers were too short and he couldn't do it. So it turned around and shook its butt at the Beast King. Come on. The Beast King was infuriated by Little Roar's provocation and sped up to pounce towards him. It wanted to use its sharp claws to tear Little Roar into pieces. Little Roar saw the Beast King pouncing towards him and retreated a little before shaking his butt at the Beast King. Roar. Bang. The Beast King quickly pounced towards Little Roar. Seeing that it was about to catch him, it suddenly bumped into something. Not only did it not catch the person, but it also bumped into something dizzy. Seeing the Beast King's appearance, Little Roar clutched his stomach as he laughed. You want to catch this little grandpa? Are you having a good time pretending? Do you think it's so easy to catch me? Sima Yue saw Little Roar's smug look and could not help but facepalm. How could she have such a contract beast? It said that she had tricked it into forming a contract. Was that true? She strongly suspected it. She walked over and slapped Little Roar onto the ground, saying, What are you showing off for? If you do this again, I'll throw you back. Little Roar jumped up like a carp and flew up again. He stared at Sima Yue with a wronged expression. Sima Yue ignored him and said to the Beast King inside, Little Roar was only joking back then. It's been so long since the incident happened. We have to leave this place too. I'll give you some compensation and let this matter pass. The Beast King looked at Sima Yue without saying a word. She thought that the Beast King was unwilling to let go of this matter. You want to compensate me? The Beast King asked after a minute. It's within my ability, Sima Yue said. She would never agree to anything that was beyond her capabilities. I don't want anything from you either. I only have one condition. The Beast King said. What conditions? Sima Yue asked. Take me and my clansmen out. The Beast King said. Out? Sima Yue looked at the Beast King and asked, You want to leave your territory? The Beast King crawled up from the ground and shook the fur on his body, saying, I found out long ago that this place is just a cage. It's just a small territory in a cage. What's there to be reluctant to leave? Sima Yu's interest was piqued. She sat on the ground and said, Awesome, you can even tell. When did you find out? At this moment, Sima Yu's soul affinity was released. The Beast King saw that she sat down and talked to him, so he started chatting with her. Talking about this makes me cry. The Beast King said, I found out a long time ago. At that time, I wasn't a divine beast and wasn't a beast king. There was once when I was chased by a spirit beast that was of a higher rank than me. I escaped to this place and found out that I couldn't get out. In the end, I was almost killed. It was my clansmen who came to save me. From then on, I started to pay attention to this place. After that, I went to many places and found that there was a barrier in this place. Sima Yue didn't expect this spirit beast to be so wise and said, You're here today to look at this barrier too? Barrier? The Beast King was stunned and asked. Sima Yue nodded, saying, Little Roar said that this is a naturally formed barrier. It just so happens that the Dongqing kingdom is trapped inside. We can't get out because we're blocked by this barrier. That's not right. What's not right? The Beast King looked at Sima Yue suspiciously, not knowing what was wrong with her. Didn't you say that we can leave once we're a spirit emperor? Isn't a first-grade divine beast strength comparable to a spirit emperor? Then why can't you guys get out? Sima Yue spoke out her thoughts. Wei Ziqi and the rest heard Sima Yue's words and thought of this problem. They were also puzzled by the fact that the divine beasts couldn't get out. The Beast King shook his head, saying, I don't know why either. I've seen a spirit emperor go out before, but when I tried, my strength didn't work at all. Otherwise, I would have gotten out long ago and wouldn't have asked you to help me. Sima Yue looked at the Beast King, her heart filled with sorrow. There were so many spirit beasts living here, but only a few had discovered this. The only one that wanted to get out was probably the one in front of her. She couldn't help but say that he really was a spirit beast with his own thoughts. She rolled her eyes just like Little Roar when he wanted to trick others. She chuckled, saying, I know now. You want to get out and don't want to be trapped here. This shows that you're a spirit beast with aspirations. But do you know, even if you get out of here, the outside world isn't the highest. You can only stay in this mountain and wander around. You won't be able to see the world you want to see. The outside world isn't. The Beast King was perplexed. Sima Yue shook her head, saying, This is the Yilin continent, but this is only the place where the average spirit master lives. Once the spirit master reaches the divine rank, they will go to the higher-ranked continents. Have you heard of the primordial lands? The Beast King shook his head. He rarely interacted with humans, so he wasn't clear about the distribution of the continents. Let me tell you, the primordial lands is much higher ranked than the Yilin continent. My master told me not to go there until I reach the divine rank. Sima Yue said, That's why I think that there must be more exciting than the world here. It's a pity? Pity what? The Beast King asked. I'm sorry for you. Sima Yue said, You want to see the outside world so much, but if you go out, you'll only wander around the mountain. What's the point of going out? The Beast King was silent, as if he was thinking about Sima Yue's words. Actually, the most exciting place in the world isn't the mountain. It's where there are people. You can meet different people, do different things, and see different scenery. Tell me, why are you guarding the mountain outside? Sima Yue added fuel to the fire. The Beast King raised his head and looked at Sima Yue, saying faintly, Actually, you just want to persuade me to go with you, right? Chapter 160. Sima Yue chuckled and did not deny it. When she discovered that the Beast King was a sentient spirit beast, she was tempted. Moreover, it was a divine beast. Being able to cultivate into a divine beast in this land of exile where spiritual energy was scarce meant that it was relatively easy for it to cultivate. If it left this place, it might have better achievements in the future. Moreover, if she could have more mythological beasts, she would have more confidence when she went to the Sima family. But I don't intend to form a contract with anyone right now. The Beast King said, besides, I have my clansmen. As their king, I can't abandon them. And you can't contract so many spirit beasts, right? Yes, you're right. I can't form a contract with many spirit beasts right now. Sima Yue said, but if you follow me, I can bring your people with me. I'll bring you all to see the outside world. You can take everyone away? The Beast King looked at Sima Yue and wondered if her words were true. Yes. Sima Yue said with certainty, you were able to become a Beast King, which means that your strength is much higher. In the future you will reach that level before your clansmen. When the time comes and you leave, what will your clansmen do? Are you willing to be separated from them? But if you follow me, I can bring your clansmen. When the time comes to the world above, if they really want to leave, I can let them leave. The Beast King was tempted by Sima Yue's words. Her conditions were exactly what he wanted. He did not want to stay in the mountains forever, nor did he want to be separated from his people. But you can't form a contract with me. The Beast King said, you can't form a contract with a spirit beast that hasn't been tamed, right? Who says I can't? Sima Yue said, since I'm a beast tamer, I can tame it. I am a divine beast, ordinary beast tamers cannot tame me. The Beast King said. Little Rock. Sima Yue called out to Little Rock. Little Rock immediately released his divine beast aura. A divine beast? The Beast King finally realized that the little bird on Sima Yue's shoulder was actually a divine beast. That's right. Sima Yue was furious. So, do you believe that I can tame you now? The Beast King fell silent again. After a while, he raised his head and asked, if I follow you, how will you take away my clansmen? I have a place where they can live. I can say with certainty that the environment there is several times better than here. If you live there, your tribe's strength will grow faster. Sima Yue said. How can I trust you? I can swear an oath. The Beast King looked into Sima Yue's eyes and saw that she was not lying. He believed her and said, all right, I will follow you. I hope you will not disappoint me. Don't worry. Sima Yue smiled. After that, she let Little Roar reopen the enchantment and went in herself. She let Little Roar and Little Rock guard her as she began to tame the Beast King. Relax a little. Don't resist me, Sima Yue comforted the Beast King as she tamed it. Bei Gong Tang and the others looked at each other and were speechless. Was this really a divine beast? How could it be so easily swayed by Sima Yue with just a few words? Actually, what they did not know was that after Sima Yue formed a contract with the Spirit Pagoda, her spirit had different degrees of affinity with others. As long as she was willing to get close to someone, there was basically no chance of failure. Even Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong Tang, who were initially 1,000 miles away from others, didn't they still walk together with everyone in the end? Moreover, although her words were simple, her attitude was very sincere, making it easy for people to believe her. Furthermore, her promises were made using negotiation techniques from her previous life. Every point struck at its heart, making it unable to resist the temptation. If it had been someone else today, it probably wouldn't have had such an effect. Not to mention the contract, they might have been slapped flat by the Beast King right from the start. However, they could not be jealous of her. As for her achievements, they saw more of her hard work. Furthermore, she had helped them a lot. Sima Yue spent half a day taming the Beast King. Because they still had to pick up those spirit beasts, they had no choice but to delay their departure by 2 days. After forming the contract, the Beast King rose a level and became a 5th level divine beast. Its strength was about the same as a 1st level spirit paragon. It's actually a 4th level divine beast. No wonder it took so long to tame. Wei Ziqi looked at the Beast King's grade and smiled as he sighed. Yue's beast taming ability is getting stronger and stronger. Bei Gong Tang said. Yeah, that abnormal mental strength of hers. There's no way around it. I think that even a divine paragon might not be able to compete with her. Wei Ziqi said enviously. Alright you. Don't be envious of Yue. She's just an abnormal person. Fatty Chu took out a spirit fruit and took 2 bites, saying, think about it this way. If we compare our mental strength to the outside world, it's also an abnormal existence. Bei Gong Tang also nodded, agreeing, that's right. Think about how much stronger your mental strength has become in these 2 years. You couldn't even tame a saint beast before, but now you can already tame a high-level saint beast? You've risen by a whole big grade. This is also because Yue taught us how to raise our mental strength. Wei Ziqi looked gratefully at Sima Yue, who was currently leveling up. Every time they saw Sima Yue's grade, they would be shocked. Although everyone cultivated together and found spirit beasts to fight, Sima Yue's growth was faster than theirs. Furthermore, she did not lag behind in alchemy or beast taming. From Spirit Master to Great Spirit Master to Spirit King, they felt that they were already heaven-defying existences. However, Yue this brat was leveling up as fast as drinking water. Before coming here she was a Spirit Master. Now she had already surpassed them by a lot. If they knew that she had already become an Array Master, they would probably not be able to accept it. Sima Yue had said before that she was now like a sponge. She had to crazily absorb everything in order to become stronger as soon as possible. After a while, the light of leveling up finally dissipated. Sima Yue looked at the Beast King and said, "Let's go and pick up your clansmen now. I never thought that I would be able to level up after forming a contract with you. I've been stuck at 4th level Divine Beast for a long time and couldn't grow any stronger." The Beast King transformed into his human form and said happily as he walked in front of Sima Yue, "That's not all." Sima Yue said, "I just leveled up. Guang and the others also received feedback. When I level up in the future you will also receive feedback. Your strength will increase even faster." "I've never heard of a contract having such an effect." The Beast King said excitedly, "If there are any clansmen who are willing to form a contract with you, I'll let them find you to tame them." "No problem." Sima Yue said. Taming her would also give her spiritual power. It would be beneficial for her. "Right, what's your name? Are you from the Fox clan?" The Beast King shook his head and said, "I'm not an ordinary fox." Chapter 161. Not an ordinary fox? Sima Yue picked up the fox with both hands and looked left and right, saying, "I don't see anything different about you." The Beast King jumped down, shook his body and returned to his original form. A huge fox appeared in front of everyone. Following that, its tail turned from 1 tail to 2, then 3, 4. It only stopped when it turned into 7 tails. 7-tailed spirit fox. Looking at its 7 long tails, the 5 of them widened their eyes. Then, Fatty Chu and the rest turned their gazes towards Sima Yue. How could this fellow's luck be so good? Even a random spirit beast that he contracted had the bloodline of an ancient divine beast. Not only that, we 7-tailed spirit foxes have the bloodline of the 9-tailed spirit fox. Once my bloodline is activated, it is not impossible for me to become a 9-tailed spirit fox, the Beast King continued. Sima Yue was also surprised. She did not expect to encounter a 7-tailed spiritual fox. "Ahem, you, what's your name?" It took her a long time to find her voice. "Thousand Resonance." It sounds like a girl's name. Little Roar muttered at the side. "Don't think that I won't dare to hit you just because we share the same master." Thousand Resonance's gaze towards Little Roar was still unkind. Come on, come on." Little Roar laid on Sima Yue's shoulder and stuck his tongue out at Thousand Resonance. "Since they are all my beasts, I can't be biased. Thousand Resonance, you have to take it easy." Sima Yue grabbed Little Roar and threw him towards Thousand Resonance. Previously, Little Roar was one of his own people. Even if he had no reason to, he would still help him. Now that both of them were her beasts, it had turned into an internal conflict. She didn't want to side with anyone. Of course, when Thousand Resonance said that he wanted to beat Little Roar up, it was just for show. He wouldn't really want to kill Little Roar like before. Sima Yue watched as Thousand Resonance chased after Little Roar and beat him up before bringing him into the Spirit Pagoda. Thousand Resonance liked the environment inside the Spirit Pagoda the moment it arrived. It knew that Sima Yue planned to arrange for its people to stay here. It was a good arrangement to be able to follow it in the future. Satisfied, it brought Sima Yue and the rest to its territory. When they arrived, Yue realized that not all of them were 7-tailed foxes. Many of them were 3-tailed, 4-tailed, or 5-tailed foxes. She asked Thousand Resonance and found out that the higher the bloodline, the more tails one would have. It was the only 7 tails, no wonder it was their king. Knowing that their king had formed a contract with a human, the Spirit Fox clan was in an uproar. Many spirit beasts were against this. Sima Yue didn't care about their reactions. She left this matter to Thousand Resonance and started to look around. It seemed like the matter this time was more difficult to handle. Sima Yue had almost walked through the entire mountain before Thousand Resonance sent her a telepathic message, telling her that it was settled. She brought Wei Ziqi and the rest back. She did not know what Thousand Resonance said to them, but those who were previously very resistant were now not as resistant when they saw Sima Yue. "Master, I have already spoken to them. Everyone will leave with you." Thousand Resonance said, "And even if they leave in the future, they promise not to reveal your secret." However, I believe that once they go to the Spirit Pagoda, they will not want to leave. Alright, then you guys see if there's anything you want to pack today. We'll leave tomorrow. Sima Yue said. It was quite far from the place they left. Furthermore, they had to pass through several territories of other spirit beasts. It was almost dark now, so it wasn't suitable for them to hurry. Little Roar had been beaten up by Thousand Resonance. He had been lying in Sima Yue's embrace the entire day, letting her hug him as a punishment for abandoning him. Now that he heard that they were going to pack things, this fellow became energetic again. He flew onto Thousand Resonance's back and said, "Brother, let's go. Let's go together." Thousand Resonance couldn't help but roll his eyes. However, he still brought him to instruct his clansmen to move. On the morning of the second day, Sima Yue kept all the spirit foxes into the Spirit Pagoda. Just as Thousand Resonance said, they liked the environment inside the Spirit Pagoda very much. Even the few spirit beasts that had some complaints before didn't have any complaints. Actually, in the entire Spirit Fox clan, there were only 30 to 40 spirit beasts in total. There were a total of 6 spirit beasts, 10 saint beasts, and the rest were all low-level spirit beasts. However, the low-level spirit beasts were usually young spirit foxes. Their strength had not increased yet. After rushing for an entire day, they arrived at their previous location. Thinking that they weren't familiar with the situation outside, Sima Yue and the rest waited until the next morning before letting Little Roar open the enchantment and went out. When they went out, Thousand Resonance followed them. When he crossed the enchantment, he turned around and looked at the continuous mountain range. He didn't speak for a long time. Sima Yue stood beside Thousand Resonance. She knew that he was feeling a little complicated. She leaned over and patted his head, saying, "In the future, the sky is high and the sea is wide and the sea is wide. Since you're out, you should look forward." And then, Thousand Resonance nodded and followed Sima Yue and the rest into the mountain. After leaving the enchantment, they felt that the spirit chi outside was denser than inside. It seemed that the enchantment had not only trapped them inside, it had also thinned out the spirit chi inside. "Ah, I feel like I've been released." Fatty Chu took a deep breath and said with a smile, "Yue, there's still a year's time to the date we agreed on. Are we going directly or what?" Bei Gongtang asked. "Ouyang, do you know the Sima family?" Sima Yue asked. Ouyang Fei shook his head, saying, "At least in South Yu, there isn't a large family with the surname Sima. Then we still have to search for a while." Sima Yue said, "Then we'll go directly. Along the way we'll see if we can meet any spirit beasts to train. We won't stay in the mountain to train. How about it?" "Alright, we don't have a problem," Fatty Chu said. "We'll listen to you now. You can arrange it," Wei Ziqi said. Sima Yue looked at Ouyang Fei. Seeing that he had no objections, she said, "Then it's decided. We'll go directly now. Thousand Resonance, Little Roar, both of you retract your pressure." "Yes, Master." Thousand Resonance and Little Roar kept their auras. Sima Yue and the rest then went on their way. It was said that their current location was not the center of Sophia Mountain Range. The real center had existences like sacred beasts. But that was not something they could touch now. So when they walked, they took a detour under Ouyang Fei's guidance. But even so, they met many sacred beasts along the way. Some did not have much of a reaction to them, while some chased them over a few mountains. For example, right now there was a brown bear that chased them for a long time before giving up. Damn, it chased so fiercely that it caused this young master's shoe to fall off. Fatty Chu saw that he had lost a shoe on his foot and scolded angrily. Everyone then realized that Fatty Chu was wearing a shoe on one foot and was barefoot on the other. They could not help but laugh. Chapter 162. Book title, Zhang is so stupid, are you a pig? By Screw Your Grandpa Bear, there will be a day when this grandpa will chase you all over the mountains and break your bare paws. Fatty Chu scolded as he took out a pair of shoes from his spatial ring and changed into them. Because they were being chased just now, everyone and I panicked and didn't know where to go. Now, they had already deviated from their original direction. Ouyang Fei took out something similar to a compass and looked at the needle on it. He pointed to the southeast direction and said, "This way." They continued to walk in the direction that Ouyang Fei had pointed out. It had been a month since they left the land of exile, but they were still walking in circles in the mountains. However, according to what Ouyang Fei had said, this place was not far from the outside. Perhaps they would soon encounter people who would come here to train and hunt for treasures. After 2 days they met their first human. Back in the Sophia Mountain Range, Sima Yue had taught them how to hide their presence so that the spirit beasts would not discover them. This was a prerequisite for every mission she went on in her previous life. Everyone's talent was pretty good, and they had basically mastered it to the point of perfection. Something's happening. Sima Yue suddenly stopped and gestured to everyone. Wei Ziqi looked at their surroundings and pointed to the large tree beside him. The others immediately understood, and with a light tap of their feet, they flew into the dense foliage and observed the situation below through the gaps. After a while, a young man ran over with his spiritual pet. He seemed to be very tired. He leaned on the trunk of a big tree and gasped for breath. "Master, the scent of the purple fox is gone." The man's spirit beast sniffed around and said. When the man heard this, he immediately exploded and slapped the head of his spirit beast. "You lost him? You're so stupid. Are you a pig?" The spirit beast immediately looked at its master with an aggrieved expression. "Master, I'm a pig. Even if you're a pig, you shouldn't be so stupid." The man held his forehead as if he couldn't bear to look at her. Piff. When Fatty Chu heard the conversation between the man and beast, he could not help but laugh. "Who is it?" The man looked up and saw several people standing on the tree. When did these people go up? Why didn't he feel it before? If he hadn't been looking up from under the tree, he might not have noticed them. Seeing that they had been discovered, Sima Yue and the rest jumped down and looked at the man and beast. The man's face and eyes clear, he didn't look like a bad person. Judging from the conversation between him and his spirit beast just now, this person seemed to be the type with a screw loose. The male was also sizing up Sima Yu and the others. He didn't look nervous when he saw a stranger. "Who are you guys? Why are you eavesdropping on us?" The man asked. "We were just passing by and heard some movement. In order to avoid trouble, we went up the tree." Fatty Chu said, "Brother, what kind of spirit beast is this?" Yue. Tease Yue of Yue Sima Yu didn't think that such an unremarkable pig would actually be the world's rare red three-eyed pig. She looked carefully and saw that there was a thin slit on its forehead. It should be the third eye that was closed. "I am Wei Ziqi, how should I address this brother?" Wei Ziqi cupped his hands and asked the man. "Our names all have the word Qi." The man said, "I am Bai Yun Qi, a member of the Sangol mercenary group." Sangol mercenary group? Wei Ziqi smiled and said, "So it's a mercenary group. Are you guys here on a mission?" "That's right." Bai Yun Qi nodded. You guys don't know about the Sangol mercenary group. You guys aren't from the West Moon Kingdom?" They knew that this was the West Moon Kingdom's territory because Ouyang Fei had come from the South Yu Kingdom to the West Moon Kingdom before crossing the Sophia Mountain Range to the Dongqin Kingdom. "We are indeed not from the West Moon Kingdom. But how did you guess that?" Wei Ziqi asked. "We, the Sangol mercenary group, are one of the 3 largest mercenary groups in the West Moon Kingdom. But you guys didn't react at all when you heard us, so you definitely aren't from the West Moon Kingdom." Bai Yun Qi said, "If you aren't from the West Moon Kingdom, then how did you get here? Which kingdom are you from?" "We are from the Dongqin Kingdom." Wei Ziqi replied. "Oh, so you're from the Dongqin Kingdom." Bai Yun Fei nodded his head. Only then did he realize what was going on. Looking at them in surprise, he said, "You guys are from the Dongqin Kingdom? You guys came from the western lands of exile?" Wei Ziqi nodded his head. "Didn't you say that you can't come out until you're a spirit king? Are you all spirit kings?" Bai Yun Fei looked at the group of people who were younger than him and felt quite shocked. No, we're not spirit kings." Wei Ziqi said, "We're just lucky that we're here." Bai Yun Fei let out an expression of understanding and nodded his head in relief. "Like I said, my talent is already abnormal. How could there be anyone more abnormal than me?" Sima Yue and the others looked at him speechlessly. What kind of personality did this guy have? How could there be such a narcissistic person? Bai Yun Qi didn't seem to feel what they were thinking and continued to speak, "But it wasn't easy for you guys to come out of that place. You didn't get torn to shreds by the mythological beasts, your luck was pretty good." "Brother Bai, we'd like to ask, is there a Sima family in the West Moon Kingdom?" Sima Yue asked. "Sima family? There is a Sima family in our headquarters in Peace City." Bai Yun Qi said, "What, are you looking for the Sima family?" "Yes, there's something I need to find them for." Sima Yue said. "That Sima family isn't anything good, what are you looking for them for?" Bai Yun Qi looked at Sima Yue and asked. "They captured my family, so I want to save them." Sima Yue said. They didn't think that they'd hear about the Sima family's whereabouts so soon after coming out. This made everyone feel a little relieved. Capture people? This does seem like something the Sima family would do. Bai Yunqi said, but even if you guys go, I'm afraid you won't be able to save your family. Although that Sima family is a bunch of beasts, their strength is not bad. They have a few spirit emperors and even a spirit paragon. Otherwise they wouldn't dare to be so arrogant in this area. I naturally understand this, but that won't stop me, Sima Yue said firmly. Sai, since it's like this, if you guys aren't in a hurry, then wait for us to finish our mission. Then I'll bring you guys to Peace City. Bai Yunqi said as he admired Sima Yue's character of not caring about the dangers ahead for her family. There's no need to trouble you. You just have to tell us how to get to Peace City and we'll use the teleportation array ourselves. Sima Yue declined. Bai Yunqi shook his head, saying, if you guys go by yourselves, you won't be able to use the teleportation array. Chapter 163. Why? Sima Yue did not understand and asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Because you don't have any identification. Bai Yunqi said, to use the transportation array here, you need to show proof of identity. If you don't have one, you need to go to the City Spirit Master Guild to open one. The people outside the Land of Exile were, ahem. They didn't like the people from the Land of Exile. If they knew that they were from the Land of Exile, they might do something. If you follow me, there won't be a problem. You're a universal identity? Fatty Chu asked. The members of the mercenary group don't need to prove themselves one by one to use the teleportation array. When the time comes, you can just follow the members of our mercenary group. Bai Yunqi said. Sima Yue was reminded of her previous life, where she had to bring her ID card whenever she went out. She looked at the others and saw that they didn't care about her. She replied, since that's the case, we'll follow you first. But won't this disturb you? It doesn't matter. We're here to carry out our mission anyway. We're almost there now. We just need to get the purple fox. Speaking of the purple fox, everyone recalled the conversation between him and the red three-eyed pig, and they couldn't help but laugh. Bai Yunqi knew what Sima Yue and the others were thinking. He scratched the back of his head and said embarrassedly, since we don't know where that purple fox went, I'll bring you guys to our campsite first. All right. Bai Yunqi led them towards the camp. On the way they discovered something. This fellow's cultivation talent was extremely high, but he really had no sense of direction. His sense of direction was completely dependent on that red three-eyed pig. So besides being a hunting dog, this red three-eyed pig was also a guide dog? Everyone looked at it sympathetically when they met its owner. After walking for half a day, they arrived at a spacious area. There were more than a dozen tents set up in the middle of the trees. Seeing Bai Yunqi appear, the Sangol mercenaries all gathered around. A middle-aged man walked over and patted Bai Yunqi's shoulder. Young master, where did you go by yourself? Everyone is worried to death. Sima Yue and the rest looked at Bai Yunqi in surprise. They did not expect him to be the young master of the Sangol mercenary group. Bai Yunfei looked at everyone embarrassedly, saying, Uncle Li, I was walking around nearby and saw a purple fox, so I chased after it. How could you chase after them by yourself? Li Kuei gave Bai Yunfei a disapproving look. What if you run into a mythological beast? What if we can't find the way and walk further and further away? Didn't I come back? Bai Yunqi rubbed his head. And I even brought someone back with me. That's right, let me introduce you. These are the friends I met in the mountains. This is Sima Yue, Wei Ziqi, Fatty Chu, Ouyang Fei, and this beauty is Bei Gong Tang. Sima Yue? Are you from the Sima family? Li Kuei looked at Sima Yue with an unfriendly gaze. No. Bai Yunqi hurriedly explained, Yue and the others came from Dongqin Kingdom, they are not from the Sima family. Sima Yue and the others thought that everyone would roll their eyes when they said that they were from Dongqin Kingdom, but they never thought that everyone's expressions would change. As long as they are not from the Sima family. Li Kuei said. It looked like everyone had a lot of opinions about the Sima family. Yue, this is Uncle Li. Bai Yunqi pointed to Li Kuei and said, he is the strongest person here. Uncle Li. Sima Yue and the others followed Bai Yunqi and called out. You guys can look around. Uncle Li said to them, then pulled Bai Yunqi over, saying, Young master, I have some things to report to you. Bai Yunqi said to Sima Yue and the others, Yue Ziqi, you guys can look around. I'll be back soon. Sima Yue nodded. The five of them were strangers, so Li Kuei would definitely pull Bai Yunqi over to clarify things. As expected, after a while, Li Kuei and Bai Yunqi walked over and said to them, Young Master Wei, we still have some unfinished business. You guys can wait here for a few days. Do you have any tents? If not, you can only squeeze with everyone. Uncle Li, you don't have to worry. I brought my own tents. Wei Ziqi said with a smile. Let's go, I'll bring you guys to set up your tents. Bai Yunqi walked over and put his arm around Wei Ziqi's shoulder as they walked towards the empty space. Sima Yue and the others nodded at Li Kuei and followed along. A man walked over and looked at Sima Yue and the others, saying, Uncle Li, is it alright to let these people stay in the group? Young master wants to help them, so let him be. Anyway, even if these people have any intentions, they can't do anything. Li Kuei said. But could they be people sent by the other side to gather information? You mean the domineering mercenary group? Li Kuei said. Yes. Their strength is not very strong, so how could they cross the Sophia mountain range? Coming from Dongqing country, the dangers along the way are self-evident, but these people don't seem to have any injuries, so I think they might be lying. The man guessed. That's possible. Li Kuei said, according to what I know, the domineering mercenary group has also accepted this mission. If we complete it before them, then their hard work over the past few months would have been wasted. Keep an eye on them and see if they have any bad intentions. Yes, Uncle Li. Sima Yue and the others were setting up their tents as they listened to Bai Yunqi talk about this mission. Only then did they know that they had already stayed in Sophia Mountain Range for a few months for this mission. Purple Fox Blood, Mannet Root, Western Gourd. Is someone injured? Sima Yue asked. How did you know? Bai Yunqi looked curiously at Sima Yue. The things you found are all ingredients used to refine the blood-invigorating pill, so I think someone should be injured. Sima Yue explained. Yue, are you also an alchemist? Bai Yunqi asked as he looked at Sima Yue in shock. I know a little bit. Sima Yue said. You're right. This mission was issued by the City Lord of Peace City. He didn't say who it was, but we received bad news that someone was indeed injured. Bai Yunqi said, the revenge reward for this mission is extremely generous, so there are many mercenary groups who accepted this mission. Just like us, the 3 great mercenary groups, all of us have been mobilized. Who else from the 3 great mercenary groups besides you guys? Fatty Chu asked. The Flying Dragon Mercenary Group and the Domineering Mercenary Group. Bai Yunqi said, that's right, since you're here, don't walk around casually. If you meet the Domineering Mercenary Group, don't say that you're with us. What? Because our 2 mercenary groups have a deep grudge. Basically, we fight whenever we meet. If you let them know that you're with us, I'm afraid that they'll take their anger out on you. Bai Yunqi explained. Is it because we usually fight for missions? Wei Ziqi asked. Domineering Mercenary Group. Just hearing this name made people dislike them. Who knew what kind of mercenary group would have such a name? Chapter 164. If it's just about snatching missions, then there are no mercenary groups with good relationships in the mercenary world. Bai Yunqi said, we just can't stand seeing them use unscrupulous methods in order to complete their missions. Moreover, they always like to rely on the fact that they're stronger than others to snatch missions from small mercenary groups. It's really unpleasant to look at. This mercenary group's character isn't good, Fatty Chu said. It's not just bad. Anyway, every time I see them they fight. Bai Yunqi said, however, I heard that the people they sent this time are stronger than us. Even if I were to meet them alone, I would still have to avoid them. Otherwise, if I get killed by them, my father and the others won't be able to settle the score with them. So if you meet him, don't say that you're with me. And we understand. Wei Ziqi replied. After setting up the tent, Sima Yue and the rest chatted with the mercenary group for a while. Fatty Chu then said that he wanted to eat and was laughed at by the mercenary group. Fatty Chu saw that Bai Yunqi was also laughing and said, Brother Bai, if you're laughing now, don't eat later. Big brother, what haven't I eaten before? Why would I be envious of your food? Bai Yunqi said with a smile. Hee, let's see if you'll still say that when the time comes. Fatty Chu said. After he finished speaking, he looked expectantly at Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang. Sima Yue kicked him. If you want to eat, do it yourself. Don't look for us. This hand of mine is only good at forging. How can I eat good food? Bei Gong, don't you agree? I didn't hear anything. Bei Gong Tang smiled and turned her face to the side. Yue, you haven't cooked for a month. Now that you finally have time, please cook. Fatty Chu begged. Look, I've lost a lot of weight recently. I don't even have any meat on my stomach. PFF, you only know how to eat. Sima Yue glared at Fatty Chu. Alright, he really couldn't be considered a fatty anymore. Although Sima Yue said that, she still took out some food and prepared to cook. There were many people tonight, so she planned to make some barbecue so that everyone could work together. The spirit beasts that they were eating were the ones that they had killed before. Moreover, they were all prepared by little spirit and sliced into pieces. Are you going to make barbecue? Bai Yunqi asked when he saw Sima Yue and the others. Yeah, Yue's barbecue is delicious. Fatty Chu squatted beside Bai Yunqi, looking at the raw meat as if he was looking at plates of cooked delicacies. Who hasn't eaten barbecued meat before? The taste is just that. Bai Yunqi said disapprovingly. You'll know when the time comes. When Sima Yue took out the prepared grill, Bai Yunqi started to believe Fatty Chu's words. He had never seen such a grill before. Usually, everyone would just skewer them and roast them over the fire. No one had ever roasted them like this before. Bei Gongtang had learnt quite a bit from Sima Yue these 2 years, so the taste of the food she made was not bad. Very quickly, the fragrance of the barbecued meat wafted out. When the mercenaries smelled the fragrance, they all gathered over. After that, they all forgot about laughing at Fatty Chu and started to eat. Sima Yue and the two of them roasted meat, but it was not enough for so many people. Thus, she took out a few more grills and let everyone roast it themselves. These grills were all made by Fatty Chu according to Sima Yue's instructions. At that time, no one thought that Fatty Chu would really become a weapon refiner. After all, his personality was too different from a weapon refiner. However, they did not think that he would be so talented in weapon refiner. Although he was usually carefree, once he started refining weapons, it was as if his soul had changed. He became steady and meticulous and really became a weapon refiner. Although he was still unable to refine a high-grade spirit weapon, he could still make a barbecue grill. In the beginning, Bai Yunqi was still laughing at Fatty Chu. However, once he ate the barbecued meat that Sima Yue made, he could not stop. Seeing so many people coming over to eat, he chased them to one side and used the grill that Sima Yue had prepared to roast the meat himself. Those people could only helplessly do it themselves. Sima Yue and the rest taught those people at the beginning. When they got the hang of it, they did not bother with them. She and Bei Gongtang made a little more and went to one side to eat. Bai Yunqi came over and took 2 more skewers. After that, he casually laid down on the ground behind him and patted his stomach, saying, "Oh, I haven't eaten so much in a long time." Fatty Chu sat beside him and said, "How is it? Not bad, right?" "It's not just not bad." Bai Yunqi said, "This is the best barbecued meat I've ever eaten in my life." After eating and drinking to their fill, the mercenaries went back to rest. Because the terrain was limited, they squeezed a few people into one tent. Sima Yue and Bei Gongtang cleaned up the mess and also went to rest. Perhaps it was because of that barbecued meat that everyone became closer. The mercenaries were all smiling when they saw them the next day. They were probably all wondering when she would cook again. Li Kuei brought a portion of them out early in the morning to search for Zihu's whereabouts. The remaining people were on standby at the campsite. Bai Yunqi brought Sima Yue and the rest to wander around nearby. He also told them a few things about the West Moon Kingdom at the same time. Sima Yue and the rest also listened attentively. Unknowingly, they were getting further and further away from the campsite. "Zihu!" Bai Yunqi suddenly shouted and chased after her. He even called out the red three-eyed pig and said, "Hong Hong, if you lose her again today, I'll make you into a roasted suckling pig." Everyone saw a purple figure flash past in front of their eyes. After that, Bai Yunqi had already chased after her. The 5 of them were helpless and could only follow him. "Little fox, don't run. I won't take your life. I just want to borrow a bit of your blood. Don't run." Bai Yunqi shouted as he ran. The few people who were following behind almost stumbled and fell. It would be strange if she didn't run when you shouted that you wanted to take her blood. The 6 people and 1 beast chased further and further away. The campsite and whatnot had long disappeared. Squeak, squeak. Suddenly Zihu's sharp cry came from the front. It seemed to be injured. Sima Yue and the rest hurried over. Before they even got close, they heard a burst of laughter. "Haha, I didn't think that Zihu would send herself to our doorstep. Captain, this Zihu really dropped from the sky. Once we catch this Zihu, our mission will be considered complete. Haha, not bad. Captain, are we going back now?" "Go back? No, wait a little longer. Wait until we take care of those people." Sima Yue and the rest turned a corner and saw a few people waiting in front. They were holding a Zihu in their hands and looking at them with evil smiles. "Qinwu." Seeing the people in the middle, Bai Yunqi's expression turned ugly. "Who are they?" Fatty Chu asked softly. "Qin Wu of the domineering mercenary group, a spirit overlord expert," Bai Yunqi said with a solemn face. Chapter 165. Looks like my luck today is not bad. Not only did I get the purple fox, I also got an unexpected surprise. Qin Wu saw that there were only Bai Yunqi and the 5 people he had never seen before, and he was secretly happy. If he could kill Bai Yunqi, it would definitely greatly damage the morale of the Sango mercenary group. It would also cause his father to be unable to recover from this setback. Who asked him to be the only child? Qin Wu, they are not part of the mercenary group. Let them leave. When Bai Yunqi saw the killing intent in Qin Wu's eyes, he knew that today was a bad day. He subconsciously stood in front and protected Sima Yue and the rest. Sima Yue and the rest noticed his actions and looked at each other without saying a word. Little Bai, should I say that you're naive or stupid? Qin Wu sneered. You want them to leave so you can report to Li Kuei? Since you're here, then stay. With that, he waved his hand and the members of the domineering mercenary group surrounded them. Qin Wu, have you thought about the consequences of your actions? Bai Yunqi yelled. If my father finds out that you've made a move against me, be careful that he'll bring people to destroy your mercenary group. Oh, you've brought your father out. Your fiery father is indeed troublesome, so all the more we can't let them leave today. If they told others about what happened today, it would be a big problem. Smart people will nip trouble in the cradle. Qin Wu said. Bai Yunqi took out his weapon and said to Sima Yue and the others, in a while I'll try my best to delay them. You guys aren't strong enough, so don't fight them head on. Find an opportunity to run. Do you understand? Then what about you? Fatty Chu asked. If you guys are able to escape, just tell Uncle Li and the others to avenge me. Bai Yunqi said, in a while, remember to escape according to the situation. Although Bai Yunqi looked down on their strength and made them speechless, Sima Yue and the others still took out their weapons. Since we came together, let's go back together. Sima Yue said, of course that includes the purple fox. Hearing Sima Yue's words, Qin Wu laughed out loud as if he had heard a funny joke. Captain, these people are saying that they want to leave together? I think we should send them to hell as soon as possible. A yellow-haired man said with a smile. Bai Yunqi turned around and saw that everyone had taken out their weapons. He said, I'm very happy that you think this way. However, we've only known each other for a day. There's no need for you to throw your lives away for me. Then why are you willing to risk your life to let us leave? Wei Ziqi asked. Bai Yunqi was stunned by the question, then said, I didn't want to implicate you guys. Team leader, this girl looks pretty good. Why don't we leave her behind to have some fun before killing her? A short and wretched man looked at Bei Gong Tang lecherously as he spoke. Why don't we just attack? Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei were both warlike people, and the way these people looked at them made them very uncomfortable. You actually dare to say such words to our goddess? That's enough for you to die. After Fatty Chu finished speaking, he raised his fist and punched towards the vulgar man. Second grade spiritual king? Che, this young master that man did not even put Fatty Chu in his eyes. However, he did not expect Fatty Chu to appear in front of him in a blink of an eye and punch him in the head, knocking him unconscious. When Bai Yunqi saw this, he knew that if he did not get rid of them today, Sima Yue and the others would not be able to escape. He said helplessly, that Qin Wu is a 5th grade spiritual overlord. I'm only a 3rd grade spiritual overlord. However, I can still delay for a while. You guys go and get rid of the others first, then come and help me. 5th grade spiritual overlord? Sima Yue looked at Qin Wu and said, isn't he just a 5th grade spiritual overlord? I even thought that he had 1 foot in the spiritual saint rank. Otherwise, how could he be so arrogant? Arrogant brat. Qin Wu was very unhappy that Sima Yue looked down on him. Sima Yue kept her weapon and clasped her hands together as she cracked her knuckles. Her face was full of excitement. I've fought so many monsters, but I've never fought with a human expert before. Tiske, today's a good day for me to practice. Yue, can you beat him? Bai Yunqi looked at Sima Yue and was shocked by her words. I've never fought with a spiritual overlord before. Sima Yue said honestly. However, she had fought with quite a few sacred beasts. Then what's your rank? Bai Yunqi asked again. 1st grade spiritual overlord. Sima Yue said vaguely. Her rank could not be compared to Qin Wu's, but her battle prowess was not limited to that. 1st grade spiritual overlord? Bai Yunqi was shocked by Sima Yue's words. He did not think that she would be able to catch up to him at such a young age. Although your innate talent is not bad when it comes to cultivation, there is an insurmountable gap between each level. Your rank is lower than mine, and compared to that old thief you're 4 levels lower. You should go with Ziqi and the others. Wei Ziqi pulled Bai Yunqi over and said, "If Yue wants to play, then let her play. First, come with us to take care of these people, then watch her play." But, before Bai Yunqi could say anything, Sima Yue had already started attacking Qin Wu, while Wei Ziqi and the others also started fighting with the others. Damn, what's going on? When he saw that Sima Yue and Qin Wu had left, he turned around and saw that Ouyang Fei and Bei Gongtang had already taken care of one person each. Fatty Chu had also taken care of one person until he was dizzy and had completely lost his battle strength. These people clearly did not look very strong, but how could their battle strength be so abnormal? Furthermore, no matter if it was a close combat or a battle of spiritual power, every move they made was targeted and did not waste a single bit of energy. This was clearly the result of a long period of training. Seeing that they were fighting with such vigor, his hands also itched and he attacked the person closest to him. From the looks of it, today was not his day of doom, but Qin Wu and the others' day of doom. Very quickly they took care of the 10 over lackeys, and they did not even suffer any injuries. Seeing the corpses strewn all over the ground, and then looking at the 4 people who did not even have much blood on them, Bai Yunqi felt as if he was in a dream. This was not even a duel but a complete abuse. On Sima Yue's side, the 2 of them had already fought a few rounds, and Qin Wu no longer looked down on them, and his gaze became more serious. Sima Yue glanced at Wei Ziqi and the others, saying, "Your claws have all been cut off, and now you're only left with your fist." Qin Wu then realized that the domineering army had all been killed, and Wei Ziqi and the others were standing on the ground watching them fight. "Humph, you little brat, you dare to compare yourself to your grandpa Qin Wu? What happened just now was just an appetizer, now I'll let you experience your grandpa's power." Qin Wu said as he formed a seal with both hands, and it looked like he was going to use a spiritual technique. From what he saw, Sima Yue had such achievements at such a young age, so she must have spent all her time cultivating, and definitely did not have so much time to practice spiritual techniques. Use spiritual techniques? Just nice, I can test out the power of the Raging Inferno cut. As she said that, she placed both hands in front of her chest and quickly flipped them over. Chapter 166. Sima Yue had not been practicing spiritual skills for a long time because the book said that one could not practice them before reaching the spiritual king level. Therefore she waited until she reached the spiritual king level before she started. She hadn't been a spirit king to a spirit master for long. Although it hadn't been long, her technique was quite proficient. It was like moving clouds and flowing water, dazzling people. If the people from the Sima clan were to see this, they would definitely be shocked. The reason why the Raging Inferno Slash was a high-grade profound rank spiritual skill was not only because of its great power, but also because it was quite difficult to learn. The technique was much more complicated than the average spiritual skill, and it was also quite obscure and difficult to connect. Many members of the Sima family were not familiar with the technique, which affected the performance of their spiritual techniques. Qin Wu did not expect Sima Yue to know spiritual techniques, and a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. "I didn't expect you to know spiritual techniques as well. However, you'll soon understand that the difference in levels is insurmountable." Sima Yue sneered, "Is that so? That's a miracle you've never seen. Today I'll show you how miracles are born." Then the 2 of them stopped talking. Soon, the spiritual techniques in their hands were about to take shape. Qin Wu's was a metal-type spiritual technique. More than 10 swords floated in front of him. Under his control, they all pierced towards Sima Yue. Sima Yue took the form of a large blade. It looked a bit like Sima Lai's formation, but the difference in power and size of the blade was too great. But even so, her raging flame slash was almost catching up to Sima Kai's. "Go!" Sima Yue shouted and swung her flaming saber towards Qin Wu's golden sword. When the golden swords came into contact with the flame saber, several of them were chopped into pieces. When Qin Wu saw that his golden sword was actually no match for her flaming saber, his hands continued to form seals, controlling the remaining golden sword to confront the flaming saber. Bai Yunqi, who was watching the battle from below, stared at Sima Yue with his mouth wide open. Even he found it difficult to contend against Qin Wu's strength. However, this fellow, who was 1 level lower than him, was actually able to deal with him so easily. Furthermore, even though he was standing so far away, he could still feel the heat from her flames. "My God, how can this fellow Yue have such strong battle power?" Fatty Chu laughed. "If you cultivated in the Sophia mountain range for 2 years and fight spirit beasts every day, your battle power would also be this strong. You've been here for 2 years? Bai Yunqi looked at Chu's spirits. No wonder all of you are so powerful. Bai Yunqi sighed. Normally, when people came to the Sophia mountain range, they would look for medicinal herbs in the periphery or catch a few spirit beasts. Even if they came here, they would only come here to carry out a mission. Very few people would come here to train. Moreover, one bag would last for more than 2 years. Although Qin Wu's strength was higher than Sima Yu's by 4 ranks, his spirit skill rank could not compare to hers. Adding on to the fact that her spirit pool had been modified by Crimson Flame, it was much bigger than the average person's and had an abundance of spirit qi. That was why Qin Wu's remaining golden swords were slowly melted by her flames. Wu, the Qin Wu's. He felt the blood in his throat. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth as he fell to the ground. Sima Yue looked down at Qin Wu. This fellow's battle power was only SOSO. It was different from what she imagined. She thought it would be a fierce battle. She didn't expect to win so easily. I've lost. Qin Wu's malicious eyes flashed with a cold light. He raised his head and looked at Sima Yu, saying, "If you let me go, we can write off what happened today. I won't bring the domineering army to cause trouble for you." Sima Yu snorted at his words. "I thought you had some brains. I didn't expect you to say something like that. You're already so old. Should I say you're naive or stupid? You're the type to seek revenge. Do you think I'll let you live to cause trouble for me? Smart people will kill trouble in the cradle." PFFF. Hearing her words, the spectators all laughed, especially Bai Yunqi. These were the words that Qin Wu had just said to him. Now that she had used them to attack Qin Wu, he felt extremely happy. Qin Wu's face darkened when he heard Sima Yue's words. He suddenly threw a weapon at Sima Yue and quickly retreated. But before he could fly a few meters, he crashed into a long sword. Qin Wu looked at the sword in his heart in disbelief. He then looked at the expressionless Ouyang Fei. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He clearly didn't feel that there was anyone here, so how did someone suddenly appear? Ouyang Fei pulled out his sword. Qin Wu clutched his chest and fell down. Even until his death, he didn't understand how he crashed into a sword. When his master died, his contracted beast that was fighting with the red three-eyed pig also roared and fell to the ground. The red three-eyed pig was fighting excitedly. Seeing its opponent suddenly die, it didn't react for a moment and just stared blankly at the corpse. Bai Yunqi's attention was attracted by the cries of Qin Wu's contracted beast. Seeing that his own pig was still in a daze, he knew what it was thinking. He shouted at it, "The master is dead, so the contracted beast is naturally dead. You can't even understand such a simple thing. Why are you so stupid? Are you a pig?" The red three-eyed pig saw Qin Wu's corpse and heard Bai Yunqi scolding it again. It ran over while whining. "I was originally a pig. You didn't even know this. So stupid, are you a pig?" PFFF. Hearing the conversation between the man and beast, the others couldn't help but laugh. Even the expressionless Ouyang Fei who had just killed Qin Wu couldn't help but smile. Fatty Chu and the others landed from 4 different directions. Bai Yunqi then realized that Ouyang Fei and the other 3 had all flown into the sky and occupied 4 different directions. "Weren't you guys talking to me just now? When did you guys fly up?" Bai Yunqi looked at the 4 of them curiously. "When Yue came down, we went up." Wei Ziqi said, "I guess you were too focused on it so you didn't notice." "Was I that focused on it?" Bai Yunqi scratched his neck, a little embarrassed. Wei Ziqi and the others were able to silently appear in 4 different directions because they could quickly restrain their presence. However, he believed that he was too focused on it and didn't notice it. Sima Yue saw that Bai Yunqi was so easily fooled and sighed in her heart that this guy's thoughts were too pure. She walked to a place not far from Qin Wu and grabbed the injured purple fox. She carried it to Bai Yunqi's side and handed it over to him. Before she could say anything, she suddenly looked in the direction they had come from. A few people's footsteps came from that direction, getting closer and closer. Chapter 167. They must have been attracted by the fight just now. If it's domineering army or anyone else, then this matter will be troublesome. Bai Yunqi also heard Azurite's footsteps and said with a frown, "If it was the domineering army seeing their men killed, a fight would be unavoidable. If it were anyone else, it was hard to guarantee that they wouldn't spread the news, but they couldn't kill everyone who saw it. They weren't the kind of people who were ruthless." Squeak squeak. The purple fox heard some movement and struggled weakly in Bai Yunqi's hands. Soon a group of people came around the corner. When they saw who it was, they heaved a sigh of relief. "Young lord." Uncle Li? Bai Yunqi and Li Kuei cried out at the same time. Young master, why are you here? Li Kuei saw Bai Yunqi and the corpses behind them and hurried over. We chased after Violet Fox and ran into the domineering army. Bai Yunqi said, Uncle Li, why are you here? Li Kuei was surprised when he saw Qin Wu's body. He glanced at Sima Yue and the other four and answered, We heard a fight nearby and were worried that it might be one of our men, so we came over to take a look. Young master, are you all right? This is Qin Wu? Uncle Li, we are fine. Qin Wu was killed by Yue and the others. Bai Yunqi gave a simple recount of what had happened. When he learned that Sima Yue was already a spirit grandmaster at such a young age and had even defeated Qin Wu, who was 4 levels higher than her, he was extremely astonished. However, they also believed that they weren't sent by the domineering army because Qin Wu held an important position in the domineering army. Even if they wanted to gain Bai Yunqi's trust, they wouldn't sacrifice Qin Wu. Thinking of this, Li Kuei cupped his fists at Sima Yue and the rest and said gratefully, Thank you for saving my young master. Uncle Li, you don't have to be so courteous. We are friends with Yunqi and the other party also wants to kill us. We are only trying to protect ourselves. Wei Ziqi waved his hands and said, Uncle Li, don't be so courteous with them. Bai Yunqi said, Rather than saying these words, why don't we go back and have a good drink with them? Isn't that right, Ziqi? Wei Ziqi smiled and nodded saying, Right? Uncle Li, now that we've caught this purple fox, our mission is complete. When are we going back? I really want to have a drink with them right now. Bai Yunqi said as he handed the purple fox over to Li Kuei. It's still early today. We'll go back and gather our men before we leave, Li Kuei said with a smile. But before we leave, we need to do something first. What is it? Bai Yunqi thought for a bit. The quest had already been completed, so what else was there to do? Li Kuei waved his hand and 2 mercenaries came out. They formed hand seals and conjured flames, burning the corpses of Qin Wu and the others to ashes. Qin Wu's status is extraordinary. If others find out that we killed him, there might be hidden dangers. It's fine now, let's go back. Li Kuei said. Bai Yunqi had an expression of understanding on his face. Sima Yue and the others had already thought of destroying the corpses before leaving, so they weren't surprised to see what Li Kuei and the others had done. Young master, let's go back, Li Kuei said when he saw that the fire was almost gone. Okay, let's go back. After staying in the mountains for 2 months, there's already a layer of mold on our bodies. Bai Yunqi said as he stretched his body. Thinking about how Sima Yue and the others had stayed in the mountains for 2 years, he admired them from the bottom of his heart. If it was him, he definitely wouldn't be able to do it. After returning to the camp, Li Kuei counted the number of people. When everyone returned, they put away their tents and left. There were still a few days' journey from here to the outside of the mountains. They had a lot of people and their strength wasn't weak. Some spirit beasts would avoid them when they saw them, so their journey was very smooth. After a few days, they left the Sophia mountain range. Behind them was a mountain, in front of them was a city, and in the vast plains they could see a city wall in the distance. Bai Yunqi pointed at the city in front of them and said, Yue, that's the closest city to here, 3 Springs City. Don't think that this city looks so close, but it's actually quite far away. Sima Yue naturally knew that on the plains, the surrounding emptiness would reduce the visual distance. Places that looked very close were actually very far away. This 3 Springs City lord is one of my uncles. When we get there, I'll get him to give you an identification card, then you can follow us to Peace City. With the identification card, even if you leave our mercenary group, you won't be troubled anymore. Bai Yunqi said. Fatty Chu punched him on the shoulder and said, How come I didn't hear you mention this before? Bai Yunqi smiled and said, I originally didn't plan on looking for my uncle. If my aunt knew that I came here without greeting her, she would definitely nag me again. Right now, I'm thinking of getting you an identification card, that's why I wanted to look for them. Everyone understood what he meant. Previously, he had only planned on bringing them to Peace City, but after a few days of interaction he decided to get them an identification card because he had decided on them from the bottom of his heart. Then we'll have to trouble you, Wei Ziqi said courteously. Haha, wait until we get to the city lord's residence. We'll have a good drink. Bai Yunqi saw that they didn't blame him and laughed loudly. Let's go. We have to get to 3 Springs City before sunset. If we close the city gates, we'll have to wait until tomorrow to enter the city. Li Kuei said. Sima Yue remembered that little roar was still behind them, so she turned around and whistled towards the Sophia mountain range. This little roar, he hasn't come out for so long. Could it be that he went to tease the spirit beasts again? Bayunchi thought about how he saw Little Roar teasing the spirit beasts on the way and couldn't help but tease him. Sima Yue thought so too. This Little Roar's perverted heart didn't change even after being beaten up by Thousand Resonants. Wherever he went he would tease her. As the owner she was extremely embarrassed, but she was also extremely helpless. After a while, Little Roar's small figure finally came out from the mountains and pounced into Sima Yue's embrace. Sima Yue picked him up by the neck, but before she could scold him he said, "You, I didn't go to tease the spirit beast this time." Sima Yue stared at him. "You didn't? Then you left for an entire day and only came out after such a long time. What were you doing?" I realized that there was something wrong with the spirit beasts in the mountains, so I went around the mountains," Little Roar said. "What's wrong?" Fatty Chu came over and asked. "I realized that for some reason, those spirit beasts have become very violent. Furthermore, the spirit beasts inside are all moving towards the outskirts and there are quite a few of them," Little Roar said. Hearing his words, Sima Yue and the rest were still a little confused, but Li Kuei and Bayunchi's faces became serious. "Uncle Li, could it be the beast tide?" Bayunchi asked worriedly. "According to what I know, the beast tide in Three Springs City only passed half a year ago. How could it happen again so quickly?" Li Kuei said, "No matter what, there's movement in the Sophia mountain range. We should quickly inform your uncle." Chapter 168. The group of people sped up and finally arrived at Three Springs City before sunset. Fatty Chu and the others looked at the majestic city walls and were all shocked. It actually has such a tall city wall. Dong Qin Kingdom city wall is nothing compared to this. Fatty Chu exclaimed. "This city wall is probably 100 meters tall?" Wei Ziqi raised his head and looked at the top of the city wall. "It should be about there." It was Sima Yue's first time seeing such a tall city wall. Thinking of the city walls she had seen before, she felt that they were just child's play. Only Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong Tang were calm. After all, it was not their first time seeing this. Actually, not all city walls are this tall. Bayunchi said, "Because Three Springs City is close to the Sophia mountain range, the spirit beast here will have a beast tide every few years. That's why the city walls are so tall and thick." "Beast tide? Is that what Little Roar said?" Fatty Chu asked. "I'm not sure this time." Bayunchi shook his head and said, "In the past it was very regular. This time, I don't know if the spirit beasts will come from within the Sophia mountain range or if they will come outside. No matter what, we have to inform my uncle first and let him be prepared." "Let's enter the city," Li Kuei said. Sima Yue saw that the soldiers guarding the city were already shouting, urging those who had not yet entered the city to quickly enter and close the city gates. Thus, the group of people hurried in. "Young master." When Sima Yue and the others entered the city, a man dressed as a manservant rushed in front of Bayunchi and hugged him as he cried, "Li Si? Aren't you at home being a door god? What are you doing here?" Bayunchi wanted to push Li Si away, but he hugged him tightly. "Young master, you're back. Woo woo, if you didn't come back, Li Si's but would have burst open." Li Si hugged Bayunchi and howled. "What's wrong? Were you punished by my aunt again?" Bayunchi asked. "Madam knew that you went to the Sophia mountain range, so she ordered me to wait here every day. If you didn't come, she wouldn't let me eat. She also said that if you didn't come, you would spank my butt." Li Si cried, "Young master, you have to go back with me no matter what. Otherwise, madam will not forgive me." "How did auntie know that I went to Sophia?" Bayunchi used all his strength, and finally managed to push Li Si away. Sima Yue finally saw Li Si's face clearly. He had a fair and clean face and looked to be about the same age as them. "Young master, are you stupid? How could master and madam not know that you used the teleportation array to come here?" Li Si wiped his snot and said, "The moment you left, madam knew immediately. So she asked me to wait here every day for you. After waiting for 2 months you finally came back. Woo woo woo. Young master, you have to go back with me this time. Otherwise I will run away from home." Sima Yue listened to Li Si's words and looked at the way he interacted with Bayunchi. She could tell that his position in the city lord's residence was not as simple as a servant. Bayunchi patted Li Si's head and said, "Poor darling. This time I was going to find uncle and the others. I won't run away again." "Really?" Li Si raised his head, his eyes shining. "Let's go. I still have something to tell uncle," Bayunchi said. "Okay, let's go." Li Si wiped the non-existent tears from the corner of his eyes and turned to leave. This Three Springs City and Yen City were both cities at the edge of the mountain range. However, their sizes were very different. Yin City was not even half the size of Three Springs City. They walked to a corner and there were a few beast carriages there. When they saw Li Si bringing people over, the coachmen all jumped down from the carriages. "Greetings, young master." The coachmen all bowed to Bai Yunqi. Bai Yunqi saw the beast carriages and said, "Aunt even prepared these. Since it's like this, Uncle Li, let's take the carriages over." Bai Yunqi and Li Kuei boarded the first carriage and arranged for Sima Yue and the others to sit in the second carriage. The rest of the mercenary group squeezed into the carriages behind. The beast carriage sped off very quickly. Sima Yu and the others pulled open the curtains to take a look. It was only then that they realized that they were speeding along an empty road. Furthermore, the crowd was walking on both sides of the road. There was not a single person in the middle. It seemed that this was similar to the roads and sidewalks in her previous life. The beast carriages ran for about half an hour before stopping. Sima Yue and the others alighted and saw a majestic mansion. "Is this the mayor's mansion? It's even bigger than the Dongqing country's imperial palace." Fatty Chu exclaimed when he saw the mayor's mansion. Bai Yunqi walked over and said, "This was built by the previous mayor. My uncle and the others moved in after they came. The inside was not as luxurious as the outside." "Young master, let's go in. Madam and the others are waiting for you." Li Si said. "Let's go," Bai Yunqi said to the few of them. As they walked in, Sima Yue and the others found that the interior was indeed simpler. It was a completely different feeling from the outside. The outside was grand and majestic, but the inside was simple but not simple. The people who passed by all bowed to Bai Yunqi. Bai Yunqi also smiled and greeted everyone. It seemed that he was very familiar with the people here. Li Si brought Bai Yunqi, Li Kuei and Sima Yue to the living room. Another servant brought the rest of the mercenary group to rest. "Young master, please wait a moment. Old master and madam will be here soon." Li Si gave the servant girl a look and the servant girl immediately went out. Soon after, another servant girl came in to serve tea. Sima Yue looked at the decorations in the living room. Other than the necessary tables and chairs, there were 2 stone carvings placed on both sides of the room. There was a plaque hanging above the main seat. On it were the words "Diligent for the people." Sima Yue lowered her head and laughed. Diligent for the people? Why did this remind her of the emperor in her previous life? "You little brat. You actually passed by here and didn't even come to Auntie's place. Are you looking down on your auntie or do you not want to see Auntie anymore? Sob sob sob, you little brat with no chance of winning." A clear and crisp female voice was heard. Following that, a figure rushed in from outside and pounced towards Bai Yunqi who was sitting opposite her. Bai Yunqi jumped up from his chair when he heard the voice. When the woman pounced on him, he jumped away, causing the woman to miss. Sun Lili saw that Bai Yunqi had actually run away. She put her hands on her hips and continued to shout at him, "Sob sob sob, little Chi-Chi wants to avoid me now. He doesn't even let me hug him. Sob sob sob, Auntie is so sad. Sob sob sob." As she spoke, she pretended to cry in front of everyone. When Bai Yunqi saw that she was doing this again, he couldn't help but roll his eyes and say, "Auntie, don't be like this. There are guests here." "What guests? I don't care. Do you want to come over and let me hug you?" Sun Lili looked at Bai Yunqi. It was as if she wouldn't give up if he didn't agree. Chapter 169. A middle-aged man came in from outside. Bai Yunqi looked at him as if she had seen her savior. She shouted at him, "Uncle, come and talk to Aunt." When Wang Lei came in, he glanced at the people in the room and saw that his wife was having a fit again. He spread his hands at Bai Yunqi and said, "You know your aunt's temper. If you don't let her hug you today, she won't give up." "Auntie." Bai Yunqi glared at Sun Lili helplessly. She closed her eyes tightly when she saw Sun Lili throwing herself at her. "Little Chi-Chi, sob sob sob, you haven't grown up anymore. You're not as cute as you used to be. Sigh, it doesn't feel right when I hug you." After hugging Bai Yunqi, Sun Lili pushed him away in disgust. She then slapped him on the head and roared, "You little brat, you didn't even tell me that you were going to Sophia Mountain Range. Ah, you've got guts, haven't you?" "Auntie, I just don't want you to worry." Bai Yunqi looked at Sun Lili helplessly and whispered in her ear, "Auntie, there are so many friends here. You have to save me some face." At this moment his uncle came to his rescue. He pulled Sun Lili to the main seat and said, "Lily, there are so many people here. It's better for you to sit down." I'll let you off this time." Sun Lili sat down beside Wang Lei and smiled at Sima Yue and the others. "Are you Lil Chi-Chi's friends?" Sima Yue and the rest could not help but laugh when they heard her mention little Chi-Chi for the first time. Now that they heard it again, they still wanted to laugh. Auntie, these are the friends I met in the Sophia Mountain Range. This is Yue Ziqi, Fatty, Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong Tang. Bai Yunqi was already immune to the way Sun Lily addressed her. She introduced Sima Yue and the others to her one by one. You two met in the Sophia Mountain Range? Sun Lily glanced at them. I didn't expect that you guys would dare to come to the Sophia Mountain Range at such a young age. You guys are truly heroes. Madam, you flatter me. Wei Ziqi said on behalf of everyone. Auntie, they are my saviors. Bai Yunqi said. Savior? Yeah. Bai Yunqi said, when we met Qin Wu in the mountains, he brought people to kill us. They saved me. Qin Wu dares to bring people to kill you? When Sun Lily heard this, she immediately became angry. She stood up and slammed her hand on the table. This domineering mercenary group is getting more and more daring. When I get back, I'll tell brother-in-law and let him bring people to destroy them. Sit down first. Wang Lei tugged at her and had her sit down again. Then he looked at Bai Yunqi and said, tell me everything in detail. All right. Bai Yunqi told Sun Lily about what happened that day. Sun Lily's expression only improved when she found out that he wasn't injured. When they heard that Sima Yue had killed Qin Wu, both of them were surprised. Thank you for saving little Chi-Chi. Sun Lily smiled and said to Sima Yue. Madam, you're welcome. Sima Yue smiled and replied. Uncle, this time I came here to ask for your help. Bai Yunqi said. Ask for my help? What's the matter? Wang Lei looked at Bai Yunqi. This girl had never asked for his help before. Cough cough, it's like this. Yue and the others came from Dongqin country, so they want to get an identity card in Three Springs City. Bai Yunqi said. From Dongqin country? Sun Lily and Wang Lei's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. That's right. Bai Yunqi said, Uncle, can you help us get this proof of identity? Wang Lei said, I can, but it will take 2 days to get it. Moreover, we need to find a place to hang it. The so-called hanging was actually similar to the previous life. If you hang it in Three Springs City, it means that you are a citizen of Three Springs City. Do we still need to find a place? We can just hang it in our residence. Sun Lily said straightforwardly, however, it will indeed take 2 days. Why don't you all stay in the city lord's residence for 2 days? All right. Uncle Li, why don't we wait for 2 days before leaving? Bai Yunqi looked at Li Kuei. Li Kuei had not said a word since he came in. At this time he nodded and said, everyone just came back from Sophia Mountain. It's fine to rest here. Moreover, if there's a need, we can help. Right, I almost forgot about the important matter. Bai Yunqi slapped her forehead and said, Uncle, when we came out, Yue's contracted beast said that it found that the spirit beasts in Sophia Mountain were more violent. There was also a large group of spirit beasts from the central regions that were migrating to the outer regions. It seemed to be an organized migration, so we thought that it might be a sign of a beast tide. The spirit beasts are here? Wang Lei furrowed his brows, but it's only been half a year since this beast tide. There's still more than 2 years until the next beast tide. Why would it appear now? We also can't be sure if this is an internal matter among the spirit beasts or if it will form a beast tide. After we found out about this situation, we immediately rushed over. We thought that we should let you all know first. Bai Yunqi said. Wang Lei and Sun Lily looked at each other and saw the seriousness in each other's eyes. He stood up and cupped his fists to everyone, saying, This is a serious matter. I have to arrange for people to investigate. If it's true, I hope that everyone can lend a hand when the time comes. I'll go now. Lily, you take care of everyone. Goodbye. Everyone stood up and watched him leave before returning to their seats. Sun Lily also seemed to be very worried. The aura around her body unknowingly became stronger. It was obvious that the news of the spirit beasts made them very worried. Honey, don't worry. Maybe those spirit beasts are just jumping around in Sophia Mountain. Bai Yunqi saw that Sun Lily was worried and comforted her. If that's really the case, then that's good. Sun Lily sighed, saying, If that's not the case, then this matter will be troublesome. How troublesome? Fatty Chu asked. In their minds, if the spirit beasts came, then it would be fine to just fight them back. They couldn't understand what they were worried about. Li Kuei opened his mouth and said, You may not have seen a beast tide before. Every time there is a beast tide, over 10,000 spirit beasts will gather. It's not something that these city guards can defend against. Every time before the beast tide, City Lord Wang will send people to invite a large number of spirit masters to help out. If there really are that many spirit beasts, then this must be a very dangerous matter. Fatty Chu looked at Li Kuei in shock. Those spirit masters are willing to come? Of course they are. Bai Yunqi said, every time the city lord will give those spirit masters generous rewards. Even if those spirit masters aren't willing, they will be willing just because of the rewards. Bai Yunqi's tone wasn't very good. It was obvious that she didn't like those spirit masters who came to help because of the rewards. Not all of them are like that. Sun Lily said, there are also many spirit masters who came with the intention of helping us defend against the beast tide. Speaking up to this point, she paused and looked at Sima Yue and the others, saying, if this really is a beast tide, I hope that you all can stay and help out. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.